All right, so we are live. Hello and welcome to this very special live commentary and Q&A. We're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Valentine. 20 years ago, I watched this movie in the theater with a couple of buddies. We smuggled in some beers and it was a fantastic time. Tonight, I'm watching the movie again with some beers and an incredible lineup of guests here. Thank you, Nico, for the $10 super chat. He says, Piz, there's too much talent here tonight. Greetings all. Thank you, sir. Yes, we're going to get to the talent here momentarily. I do want to mention that if you don't own a copy of the film physically or digitally, there's a Vimeo link in the description so you guys can queue up with us and watch the movie along with us in real time. We are going to be doing a Q&A after the commentary, so if you have questions, please try and hold on to those until after the commentary. If you're on the East Coast and you can't quite stay up that late, please feel free to send your questions via a super chat. I'll prioritize all questions sent through super chat, and YouTube keeps a log of all super chats, so it'll be really easy for me to go and get those questions when we do the Q&A. We're also going to make a invite link available during the Q&A. So if you want to jump on and ask one of my guests a question face-to-face, you'll have that opportunity after the commentary. So without further ado, let me welcome my excellent guests for tonight. First up, the director of Valentine, all the way from the land down under, and he's coming to us from the future. Jamie Blanks, how's it going, Jamie?
Hey, Justin. Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too. Thanks for you set this up, man. It
was so exciting to see the response that I got on Twitter and other places about the movie for its 20th anniversary. And a lot of people were asking me questions about the film, and I thought, well, this is a really good way we can kind of watch the film together and bring in some of the people who helped make the movie with me and have some fun. Just watch the movie together, and so it should be a blast, man. I'm really excited about it.
I am too. Very excited. Right. Also with me tonight, the screenwriters, Gretchen J. Berg and Aaron Harberts. How are you?
Hi. How are you?
Doing all right, thanks.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to come on and tell us about Valentine from the writing perspective.
We're happy to be here, and we love any chance we have to see Jamie. We're so excited. So we love him dearly. So
we're very, very good friends, the three of us. We had a gorgeous time working on the movie together. One of those rare opportunities where we mixed business and pleasure, and all the work got done, but we just had a great time doing all the work and just enjoying each other's company. And we've remained friends for 20 years, and we'll be friends for the rest of our lives. And it was just a great experience working with you guys.
That's
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Also with me tonight, the production designer, Stephen Geaghan. How are you? Hello, sir.
Steve.
Let's. It says your microphone's muted, Steve.
You're muted, Steve. Sorry, you need to unmute your mic. There we go.
There you go. How you doing, sir?
How you doing?
Good. Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's so wonderful to see you again, Steve. You and I haven't seen each other in 20 years since we finished the movie, so I'm just so excited that you're here with me tonight to talk about it. You had such a good experience.
It's a real delight. I enjoyed doing the film. It was marvelous getting it. Getting the film is the best part of the film, generally. After that, it's all downhill.
It's all hard work after that.
Valentine was, however, a fabulous experience at every level. And I loved working with you.
The feeling is more than mutual, brother. You did an amazing job, and I just remember smiling the whole time when you and I were working. There were never any dark, serious talks about things. No. We were just having a good time the whole time, and that's how it should be, you know.
It was great fun to come up with the image systems that we used, and who was surrounded with blood, who was surrounded in red, how did they die? It was great fun. Even the speed dating bar.
Oh yeah, that was so much fun.
Making
we had a lot of I was watching the movie yesterday, and I just all the sets are so vivid. There's so much detail in the movie, and you've got Marley's got a wonderful apartment. There's all sorts of little character touches in all the sets, and Denise and the Jessica who lives in that apartment together, where they get the chocolates and everything. Just gorgeous set design you did, and I'm just it really blew me away again. It's a gorgeous looking film, and I owe that to you and to Rick Boda.
Well, thank you. It's really simple. All the good girls are in yellow and blue. All the bad girls are in steel and live in cages.
Oh my goodness. But thank you for joining us tonight,
you wrote it.
Oh my goodness. Also with us tonight, the editor of the film, Steve Mirkovich. How you doing, Steve?
Fine. It's great to be here. Hello, Jamie. Hello,
Good to see you, brother.
Steve and Geaghan. Yes. Boy, what a great experience that was. And I mean, Jamie and I go way back, and I see him every year or two down in Australia.
You're going to move here, right, Steve? You promised me you're moving to Australia this year.
Within the year, yeah. I think it's that time. I'm not calling it retirement. I'm calling it relocation. You know,
take 2 more. Yeah. Can you have a couple guest rooms, guys?
No problem.
Yeah, come and join us.
we're definitely shopping, but you know, one of the things about no matter what film you work on, and I think everybody here will probably agree if you think about it, or maybe you don't need to think about it, is that when you like the people you're working with, you usually like the film because it's in everybody's best interest just to make it the best film you can. And you know, Jamie's such a great guy to work with. You know, everybody that I had direct dealings with were just, you know, what can we do? What can we do? How can we make it better? You know, we were never satisfied. We always wanted to make something better. And, you know, working with Jamie in the cutting room, I mean, it's literally, how can we kill these people just a little more gruesome? How can we, you know, look, we'll work sometimes 6 months,
much out of it.
8 months, you know, arrows. You know, it's you'll work all this time, and people say, "Don't you get tired of looking at the same film for month after month after month?" And I don't, because what you live for is the first time you roll that thing out to an audience, and you don't watch the film, you watch them. You watch for their reactions.
Yeah,
and it's so gratifying.
Right.
It's so satisfying to scare the shit out of people. You know, and just to say yes. We got you, and it's just great fun. So it's a credit to Jamie. It's a credit to everybody involved. The mood, the writing, of course, the mood of the sets, the photography. It was just a great team effort, you know, and it'll always be one of my favorite experiences.
You were wonderful too, Steve, because I know you don't really believe in rough cuts. You go straight to fine cut. When you watch your first edit, it's usually, you know, pretty much there. You know, you've done a lot of work. You've thought about it very carefully. You've analyzed all the takes. And what you presented me the first time I saw my rough cut of Urban Legend, it was a little bit of a freak out to me. It didn't have music, it didn't have a lot of stuff. You softened the blow a little bit by sticking in lots of sound, lots of different music tracks. And that first experience I got watching your cut was very, very different. And I really appreciate that way of working too.
Sweet of you to know. I don't know how to do it in either way. I don't understand how people don't look at all the film. And everything that happens after you say cut, there's a blur, there's a flash, there's somebody.
Yeah, there's always something. Yeah.
There's pieces. You don't have to make notes on everything. Once you see it, and you go, hey, wait a minute, you know, because that's our job. I mean, you guys are the champions. I'm an armchair quarterback. I go in there and try to fix things or tell a story a little as quickly as I can in the best way possible. And it's just a privilege to be doing this. I mean, it's like, wow, how did I get this job? You know, and you know,
you were part of an amazing team.
Well, thank you. With you, it wasn't about how do I get out of this job. It was it was great. So yeah, this is fun stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and last but not least, a writer, a producer, an actor, the world's foremost authority on Friday the 13th, and soon, after the release of his next book, Scary Movies, we'll be able to add world's foremost authority on 90s horror to that already impressive resume. I'm talking about Peter Bracke. How you doing, Peter?
Hey, Pete.
Thank you, guys. Hey, Peter.
I'm not an actor, though. Thank you, though.
I saw your work. I saw your work in the Crystal Lake Memories documentary. I saw your work.
But
I
Thank you.
remember that.
we're thrilled to be here.
But I've got, as you can see, a crew of incredible guests. Everybody in the chat is really just really having a good time so far. So
that's awesome.
what we're going to do is we've got our copies of the film queued up at the very beginning, 0.00. So if you want to watch along with us, we'll give you a couple of minutes and then we'll press play, and hopefully Jeremy Melton won't get us, but no guarantees. No guarantees.
I have to say, pizowell, that opening you created, the montage, you guys see it? It was amazing.
Yeah, that was really good.
That was really cool.
Thank you.
Really
That was
nice
actually
touch.
that was actually Steve's work. I sent it to Steve and he
really?
edited it together for me. So he did it super quick. I appreciate that.
Yeah, right.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. But yes, we've got a great chat going on so far. Hollywood Lido says, thanks to Pizzel and the guests for making my wife's first viewing so special.
Oh, it's her first time watching the movie.
First time watching the movie.
Oh,
Well,
That's awesome.
we have to watch out for spoilers. It's going to be pretty tricky.
That will be tricky. Yes. I was thinking about that beforehand. Like, can we? Because usually when you're talking about the commentary, people have already seen the movie, right? So can we get? How spoilery can we get here?
We're going to have to assume you've seen the movie to have this conversation.
Also, thank you, Michael Piatowski. He says he's watching in his car on his lunch break. Melbourne Lockdown 2.0.
Hey, we're both in the Melbourne lockdown, Michael. Only for a few more days.
That's awesome.
Joey says, thank you for bringing Cupid to life. Besides, Michael Myers' Cupid is my favorite horror icon, and Valentine is one of my favorite
Wow.
horror movies.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joey.
Yeah,
That's
thank you,
really
Joey.
kind, man. Thank you.
Very kind of you. Okay, so Hollywood Lido says, spoil away, she won't mind.
Okay, cool. We're good.
Denise Richards is the killer.
That'd be awesome.
That's on Real Housewives.
There you go. No, Rebecca Gayhart's the killer.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Well, should we cue it up?
Let's cue it up. Let's get the ball rolling here.
There are certain points we should be at.
Just 0.00 at the very beginning. Yeah, we'll
You
try
gonna
and
give us
get
a countdown, are you, Just?
Yep, I'm going to give us a
Great.
countdown. Everybody ready?
Yeah. Stand by.
Yeah,
Here comes Steve. I think Steve's ready.
I'm ready.
All right.
Okay, let's roll it.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So we should talk a little bit, Aaron and Gretchen, about the origins of this film, because I know there was many drafts of this story before I got involved with it, and the draft that got me on board was your draft, which I thought was fabulous. And to tell us a little bit about how your journey into the movie and how it got started.
Well, where's everybody at on this? Because sorry, Jamie.
Something happened.
Oh, it's okay. I'm on like the Warner Brothers Village Roadshow title card.
Okay, great. Okay. Sorry, everybody.
Dylan's card is up now. Yeah.
We're writers. We're not techies.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we don't do this.
We do it on a laptop and that's it.
Yeah, we came on board after Donna and Wayne's draft had come in, and actually we really thought their draft was fun.
We were like, this is great.
This is the thing about Hollywood. I mean, I don't know, writers, I think we like to try to make things work, and we always like to try to, see the quality and everything right out of the gate. So Gretchen and I are like, this is super fun, but they just wanted to make it more Valentine centered, I guess you could say.
Right.
Dylan and the studio. So we got a bunch of books on Valentine's Day.
We did a lot of research and found out like there was a lot of creepy stuff to behold, especially from the Victorian era, that there was a little bit of a weird edge through time to not only the tradition of Valentine's Day, but when you really start looking at it, the hearts, and also think of all the broken hearts that go with it. It was really rich. And we were pretty young. We were also working on a TV show at the time, so we were running back and forth. And so this was like our treat. This was like our vacation. This was our fun going to camp sort of working on thing. Like it was such a joyous, fun thing for us because you got to work out your own demons and as I see people at a middle school dance, you know, hanging out in the bleachers. So yeah, it was a really fun project to sort of not only research but get into. So
How different was the Wayne and Donna Powers draft from what you guys did?
It was a little bit more. I use this word in the best of senses. It was a little more unhinged. Like it was a lot more, I would say, slashery, a little bit more loose in terms of kind of the motivation and stuff.
Mhm.
I think it hewed closer to the book. I think I'm not sure, but the idea of sort of the women at the center, that was always the case, and Jeremy Melton, that was always a part of it. You know, the killer wore a pig mask, and that was something that we changed pretty quickly once Jamie came on. Then we started to, you know, also sort of work that up. But yeah, I don't remember too much about it.
Yeah, except that then it made us even more excited at the concept when reading it. We really liked it. So
yeah.
Yeah.
The revenge aspect was always there.
Mm-hmm.
You guys always had a wonderful ear for dialogue. You still do, obviously. I mean, it's like the characters are really beautifully written, and it was a real spark to the whole thing. And it was just really good. I mean, it was a fun read. I just remember reading through it. Like, this is going to make a really fun movie. And I just remember coming on board wanting to just kind of amp up a few of the things. I think originally, like the first conversation I had with Dylan and with Kevin McCormack at Warner Brothers was about the jacuzzi sequence. And I think originally she just got electrocuted or something with the drill. And I said, we should really, you know, let's make the most of this terrifying scenario. Let's stick the cover on and start punching holes with the drill. So it was things like that, just amping up the horror side of things again. So maybe making it more slashery again. But I remember just reading that script and wanting to jump on board. And you know, you and I, we had I don't know, because it felt like it was a month or maybe a month and a half where we got to work on it together. And I know you guys were doing other stuff at the same time. So often, I remember Aaron dropping off script pages to me at the hotel at like 1:30 in the morning and stuff. It was a good experience developing it together. I mean, lots of fun sitting around pools with margaritas talking about the film.
You spoiled us. You, Simone, like it felt like instant family, and we had such a good time. And I hate to say it, but not every experience is like that. But like, we had such a blast with you, and it was always fun. And you just your enthusiasm is so infectious. And you know, I got that from you guys too. You guys had a really great energy about you, and I just think we connected well. We were all younger, yeah.
We were young. It's funny because at that time too, when we were writing the script, we were working on Beverly Hills 90210 with Danny Cosgrove.
The original, yeah,
that's right.
And then
when
and then we look up and see Katie Heigl when the film was being shot. We were working on Roswell with Katie.
That's right.
It's funny. It's so of an era, just in terms of even like our first jobs and all of these actors who were, you know, in their early 20s, barely, when we worked with them. It's just unbelievable.
Well, it was such a joy because I've in the past worked with an individual screenwriter on a project. It was so nice working with a writing duo who were great friends, who fired energy off each other all the time, and it was just a wonderful experience. I just really, really enjoyed that part of it immensely before heading up to Vancouver, just getting the film in shape with you guys, and then getting the cast on board, and yeah, it was a really fun experience.
Yeah.
How did you get brought onto the project, Jamie?
I got a call from Dylan Sellers from Warner Brothers, and got the script sent to me through my agent. So I just remember I think I only had one or two conversations with Dylan and Kevin before we agreed to do it together, and I was on a plane coming over. So it happened pretty quick. No, it was really quite. And I'm just trying to remember how long we were in pre-production before heading up to Vancouver. Because I think Steve Geaghan, you were one of the first people we got on board once we got to Vancouver, because you had a ton of work to do, and you didn't have a huge runway to get it all, in the air. So you had a lot of stuff that you had to pull together out of that script. Do you want to talk a little bit about when you and I first got together and what that was like?
It was quite a condensed prep. And I remember what we talked about initially was how to differentiate good from bad, what the image systems we would use. In other words, covering people with red or blood. Anybody that touched the red would die. How the good girl was portrayed and what colors be used around her. How we would do the set of the cell, since it was a barred door for our two evil girls, and this was sort of the development. And then basically it was the color ranges that we would use. Each scene, like the dating bar, we would turn into, well, it's a jungle out there, so it became a jungle.
Yeah.
The birds and the macaws and the
That's right.
And it was just the other big set was the art gallery. And we had to tread down a very narrow path of what was acceptable in terms of the meaning of love and how it was portrayed. It couldn't get too couldn't tend toward pornography in any way. So
it was a fine line. I remember there was a very strange day on set, having actors disrobing for me in front of the camera all day in various outfits, just so we could film all the content for those screens.
I'm sure you hated it. I'm sure you hated it. It was awesome.
It was a unique experience. It's never happened before or since. But and I remember, Steve, you gave me a model of the set, like a modular model of that art gallery set, so we could constantly move the panels around and make it feel much bigger than it was. And I remember doing that at night, just like, okay, what's the configuration for tomorrow? We're going to have to come around this corner. And it was a really great way of working. And I was surprised how quickly you actually were able to move that set around. And it was quite complex, but very, very efficient.
It was modular. The thing I remember about that was I had just gotten married. And so we used my wife, who had been a model, in a lot of those.
That's her in the photos. And
yes. And I still go into the carpentry shop on the show that I'm doing right now, and there's a chunk of that set right there. It's like, oh my God. 20 years later.
It's an incredibly complex build. And I remember, Steve Mirkovich, you and I, we had a phone call because we were looking for someone to cut the movie. And Frank Uriosty at Warner Brothers put your name up. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding? I didn't even know Steve was be available for this. I'd known your name for years, obviously, with all your John Carpenter films. I know you just come off. I know what you did last summer. So we had a phone call, and I remember we just seemed to get along really quickly. And so let's do it. And then next time I saw you, you were rocking up in Vancouver at the production office.
Yeah. Well, you're not an easy guy to talk to, Jamie. No, it was great. Yeah, it was a phone call, a quickie. We're usually the last guys on, so you have your hands full with production, and it's like, oh yeah, that's right, we need an editor. So I was very pleased to get the call, and it's a great experience. Yeah.
Well, you were really involved with the movie. I know you were on set quite a bit, and we also every day would spend that time at Rush's together, going through everything that we shot the previous day. So it was a wonderful experience having you there from the very beginning, because it saved us a hell of a lot of time in post too, that we both knew the film and each other so well by that point.
It's a great way to do a film. We don't always get to do that these days. So it was a great way to do it.
We're about to watch Katherine Heigl meet her.
Oh yeah,
Was she ever? This was a pre-stardom Katherine Heigl. Was she ever considered for any of the beefier roles, or did you just have like a limited amount of time?
We wanted someone like Katherine who you thought she would be in the whole movie, so that it was a surprise that we took her out at the very beginning. And I think she had scheduling. She was only available for a period of time, I believe. So it wasn't even, I don't think, even a possibility that she could have played one of the bigger roles. I think she was probably on hiatus from Roswell at the time. So yeah, we Katie only worked 3 days or something, but she was wonderful, really terrific. I know she has had some unkind things to say about some of the films she's worked on, possibly even including this one. But I just remember it being a lovely experience with Katie, and she was treated really well, and she did a great job, and she was terrific.
Yeah,
that's good. That's cool.
We've always had a wonderful experience working with her too, and
she's a really professional.
Yeah, here comes the Cupid dust.
It is.
There he is. There he is.
Actually, getting
killed.
The body bag scene.
Was this sequence always in a morgue? Did this develop at all? This opening?
I think this was in an original. I mean, this might have been in a second draft or something. I think Dylan wanted to have a real set piece opening it, and I think Gretchen and I were just like, wouldn't it be awful to be like zipped inside one of those things, knowing that it's coming? And then just that visual, I think we may have been on a morgue set or had been using something for something else, and we had seen sort of those way they train the fluids, I guess you could say, and just kind of thought, oh, that'd be an interesting way to kind of use that too. But it just seems like your worst nightmare, you know. She's completely
yeah.
And I love
terrifying.
And I love how Cupid's like, I'm not going to open all these. I'm just going to, you know, start.
Yeah, he opens the first couple and like, let's just get to the point.
Yeah, let's just get to the slashing. You know,
and I feel like that might have been Jamie. Did you all work that out? Because I don't remember us.
No, I think we added that. We added that the stabbing on the day. It was just something we thought would be really, really scary. And Steve and Geaghan, I've seen this set in other movies. I remember you built this amazing lab, and I think it was one of the Halloween films. I've seen it turn up in other films, and it's is it still standing there?
Yeah, it's still there in by and large the same, because the tiles that we put in are still the same color. They were chosen very carefully, and I see that in other shows. It's like, I did that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely got some mileage out of it. It was an abandoned mental asylum, wasn't it? That we used.
Yes, it was. That stuff. Riverview.
Yeah,
in Vancouver.
I remember going upstairs to some of the abandoned floors during lunch break and stuff, and just being really freaked out by the atmosphere up there.
There's ghosts.
Yeah, it felt heavy, very, very heavy in there. But that set was extraordinary.
Was Heigl's was her character's death a little more graphic?
Oh yeah, all the violence in this movie was trimmed. I think I've talked about this many times. I was contracted to deliver an R-rated movie, which I did, and Warner Brothers very hesitant to put out the movie in the first place because of its subject matter. A guy's killing all the girls he went to school with after Columbine. The Matrix movie got a lot of flack because the kids were dressed in similar outfits. So all the same executive team that made Matrix were making Valentine, and they were a little bit hesitant about some of that stuff. They were very nervous about some of the violence. So some of the key shots, like you did see Katie's throat get cut. We went to great expense to do it first prosthetically, and then I think we even did a digital enhancement on it. So we spent a bit of money to get that effect looking great, and it did. And the studio actually asked for those shots to be removed, sadly.
Was there any attempt when you were putting the Blu-ray together, Peter, to track down those cutscenes?
We have the gore footage is on there. It's not the actual negative, right?
It's just a spit out from Steve's Lightworks edit system. So that's the only copy we really have of that material. But at least you can see that it's there, that it was shot. So where are we up to? Speed dating.
Speed dating. Yeah, speed dating.
Yeah, look at the jungle. You really see it, Steve. It's great. It's a jungle out there. I love that.
This was a late ad too, I think. And the funny part about this was, typically when they're shooting a film, they bring a writer on to do a production pass or any work set. And I think we didn't write this. I don't think, right? I don't think this was us.
Don't know.
I don't remember. Well, I don't think it was us. I think it was actually a woman who I had gone to high school and elementary school with.
Maybe it was Kate Condell did it, possibly.
Kate Condell, who was on set with you for all of the production rewriting. And that was a crazy moment to realize, oh my God, this is someone I've known since I was a 6th grader. So anyway, that was a reunion as well.
There was some funny intersections of this movie for you with a couple of the actors and Kate. And it was funny.
Jamie and I were talking before we went live about if they updated this movie today, it'd be all the girls on their phone on Tinder swiping.
Yeah, very different.
House to meet somebody new. Why would you do that? Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's funny because back then speed dating, it seemed so impersonal, but now this seems it's the opposite. Yeah.
Tactile and like really getting to know you're actually meeting in person. Yeah, it's true. I guess it's harder probably for somebody who wants to get revenge by killing a bunch of people nowadays because people just don't go out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Exactly.
Because this was. Did you shoot this in 2000 or 2001?
I shot this in 2000.
Okay, so this was still kind of the internet was out there, but it wasn't like
it was
not everybody had the internet.
It had been around for a couple of years. I remember having it on Urban Legend in '98, sort of having email and stuff, but it was in its infancy still at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's holding a newspaper, reading a newspaper. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who would have thought that would date a movie?
I don't think speed dating took on either. You know?
No, it was like it had its
Well,
15 minutes and then it moved on.
If it was 50, yeah.
And here is David Boreanaz.
Yeah.
He's no angel.
Once again, David was only available for, I think we had him for 10 days because he was on hiatus between his show. So yeah, we didn't really have a huge amount of time to work with Dave, but what a professional, what a lovely man, and all the girls, the whole cast and crew thought David was wonderful, and he was just funny. I mean, there's shots in the Blu-ray. There's like 2 hours behind the scenes stuff, and you can see Dave on set constantly reciting Jack Nicholson from The Shining, like "Give me the bat, Wendy, give me the bat." Yeah, he was really fun. I had a great experience working with Dave and the whole cast. Really, we had just a really great cast. They all totally into the roles. They all got along really well with each other. It was a real pleasure.
I remember when you told us he was signing on, what a get that was at that time.
Oh yeah, he was a big deal.
Incredible, Denise and all. I mean, really, that cast was. It was a really great cast. And once again, Denise is someone I didn't get to, or she didn't audition for the role. We just offered Denise the role, and we were already in production by the time Denise showed up. So we're already like a week or so into the film. So I hadn't met her yet, so I was a little nervous about how that's going to work out. And she turned out to be funny and sassy and great to work with. And I watched the film yesterday. She's amazing in that role. She really is.
Yeah.
I had a lot of people say to me on the internet, she should have been the final girl. But it's nice that we have characters that you care about enough so that when they die, it means something. They're not just disposable cannon fodder like a Friday the 13th film or something. We hopefully care about them a little bit.
Now watch what you say about Friday the 13th. Yeah. You've got Peter here and Steve.
No, we love Friday the 13th. We love Friday the 13th, but in Friday the 13th, let's face it, we're all rooting for Jason, right? Mm-hmm. We're on Jason's side.
Steve's son played young Jason.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and he's never looked back. He just keeps going.
Does he get royalties for that role still, Steve?
I don't believe so. I mean, it's been a long time. He was, and plus we did it in Canada, and I don't know how that works with royalties up there when we were a kid. I mean, he literally got that part because he happened to be standing there when the kid that they cast for it went into the water tank for the first time, and he couldn't swim. And they said, "Who's that kid? Can he swim?" And he got the part. That was it.
Yeah, it's funny how often actors will say that they can do things and they can't. I've had actors before say that they knew how to drive and were able to drive.
No, he's just cutting away now. He's having a ball. You know?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, so Steve Geaghan, we should talk a little bit about the this location from the movie, which is such a big part of the film, Dorothy's Mansion. That was quite an extraordinary. I remember walking through it with you for the first time, just going, "Wow!" It was this endless, like labyrinthine mansion that we shot in. Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you. This location.
That was Casamia, which is an old estate in Vancouver. It's on the water, and we walked in there, and I'm looking at that, thinking, "Well, what can we do?" And one of the things that was really interesting about that was that the wallpaper that was in there was by and large red velvet, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we lucked out here. Yeah. And we took they did allow us to take various rooms and reclad them and change them so that we where we did the basement where one of the characters is thrown through the glass. That was a complete build within the house, and then the one thing that we had to do, and it was quite good, it was very beautiful, was that we matched all of the tile work into the area where Denise was killed.
That's right, because that was a set that you built, which was just extraordinary. It was a beautiful set that you designed.
And we had to, we took some of the work in the house, transferred it over just stylistically into this set. My two main concerns with that scene was keeping Denise in the water for essentially 12 hours, and why she wasn't, and keeping the pH up there. That was thing one. And thing two was, how many takes are we going to get out of the plexiglass top? I had 4 of them. Yeah. And after 4, we were out of luck. and that's
Yeah.
all we had. So they managed to get it in, I think, 2 or 3 in the drill.
We did really well. That plexiglass was perfect. I was thinking the same thing because I had that idea. Well, let's just punch holes through but I had no idea how it was actually going to work on the day once it was in position, once we had the actress there. And I was actually surprised how well that did work. And Denise was a trooper throughout that sequence. She never complained once. And remember, we had to have no roof because we had the camera circling above, swooping down on the crane. There's great shots. And yeah, there's some extraordinary sets you built. I mean, the other thing we should talk about, Steve, is the Correct building, which became kind of our soundstage where we had all the different levels. To tell us a little bit about that location, because that was a huge part of the movie.
Well, the interesting thing about that building, which no longer exists, was that we built a number of sets in there, and several that we didn't use. There was the, I think it was like a newspaper or a news office or a magazine office. Beautiful set, and I that was like slitting my wrists and thinking, oh my God, we'll never see that. It was, you always have to kill your babies. Writers know this, of course. And that one we spent weeks on. It's like it was the perfect place, and that didn't get shot. But then we did Denise's apartment in there, and that was the one. That was the one that was the one that was all metal and
it was incredible.
And we did the police station. We built our police station in there as well, and that worked out quite well. Yeah.
It was the police station, and also the art gallery was in there as well.
The art gallery was in there,
because that stairwell that Jessica Caulfield goes down and into the dumpster, that was actually the physical stairwell at the Correct building, wasn't it? We got really lucky with that. I remember seeing that, and it was like exactly kind of what I imagined when we were scripting that sequence.
And then
that was a great building. That was really helpful to us.
Yeah, and at the bottom of that, we had to build a dumpster that was conveniently at the bottom there with a lid that would conveniently close. And it's like nobody thinks about this stuff.
That is
one of my favorite moments.
Yep.
Well, it's the way you cut it, Mr. Mirkovich. It's beautifully cut, that sequence, and you just make it with the sheer force of her slamming into that thing brings the lid down. And I know Jessica herself's really proud of that death scene. We have some really good death scenes in Valentine. They're not, this killer goes to a lot of trouble, and he's multi-talented. He spends a lot of time getting maggots into chocolate and designing those intricate cards that he does. This is not just some thrill killer. He's put a lot of thought and
premeditation. He put a lot of time and effort into this.
That's right.
Can you imagine he sent those cards off to the American Greeting Company and can you print this card?
I mean, someone approached me once asking could they reproduce those cards. I said, well, you need to talk to someone else. I don't know the rights to that, but they would be kind of fun Valentine's cards to stick them out there as like a collector's thing or something.
Aaron, did you and Gretchen sit down and come up with those?
I think we still got some of them.
No.
Oh, really?
I don't think we did write those cards, did we? I can't remember.
I think, we did a bunch of research, so I think maybe we had versions of them, but I don't know if they ended up being the final version. That wasn't the thing.
I think
I'm pretty sure you did a couple of them. Didn't you do the beauty, skin deep, savor the taste, you are what you eat? I think that was you guys doing that one.
Say sure.
I honestly, I think, I know that we absolutely had the cards in there for sure. And we had, I think that ours was probably just like, I don't know that we did the rhyme, the kind of the not limericks, but just the rhyming stuff.
The rhyming ones, right?
I think that those were developed. I mean, when you got up to Vancouver, you all had a field day with those cards.
Yeah, the only one that I wrote was the roses are red, violets are blue. They'll need dental records to identify you. That was my sole contribution.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Now we've seen she's had to dunk her head in the toilet to wash her hair.
Yeah.
That seems to me like a scene that was pulled out of real life. Gretchen, did that ever happen to you?
No, but I think no. She's a much than I am. Yeah, no. But yeah, thanks for you look for truth, but no.
Okay.
No, but honestly, I mean, she just goes to show you that she's not afraid of much. So
she's resourceful and she's not afraid.
That's right.
That's what good for a final girl,
And since Steve Geaghan, the set that Marley Shelton lives in, where she just dunked her head in the toilet, that was a build as well, as I remember. We built that. That was somewhere, because I know the hallway was attached to that set. Was that in the Correct building as well?
That was part of the Correct building, because I used the windows, the actual windows of the Correct building. I built the hallway for the creepy guy, And that's one of those things where the good girl's apartment is yellow and blue and clear and clean. And
yeah, no, it's gorgeous. It ties in so well with the. I mean, that whole the planning that we did regarding all the colors. It's not something people pick up on like consciously, but I just think it's underneath. It's one of the reasons the film kind of works visually so well.
Yeah.
So where are we up to now? They're getting the
chocolate.
maggots.
It's the chocolate.
So this comes up a lot. Like I heard a couple of podcasts, and it's people are always, how does he get the maggots into the chocolate? And my answer's always been, who cares? It's just not something.
You got to special order those from the Hershey Company.
Yeah.
They weren't really maggots.
Yeah, they were mealworms or something, but yeah, I just it never crossed my mind to explain those kind of things. You're thinking about it too much. You're thinking about the wrong stuff.
Yeah.
But that worked really well. This is another gag that was really effective. I'm just taking in this set again, Steve. It's really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. I remember the first time walking into that place, just being blown away. Just absolutely blown. It was visually, for Rick Boda, the cinematographer, every angle. There wasn't a bad angle in that set. You'd thought it out beautifully, and it was so many ways to shoot it. That was actually the case with all your sets, man. They were superb.
Thank you.
The sequence with Denise and stuff at the end, absolutely perfect. You know, I couldn't have done it without those sets. There's just no other way you could have shot those things in a practical location. So, yeah, man.
I love Jessica's
I take my hat off to you.
here. Jessica's
I
reaction.
take my hat off to you. It was a pleasure. We should do this again.
Hell yeah, I would love to do another one with you, man. I've said about Vancouver, if I lived anywhere else in the world other than Melbourne, it'd be Vancouver. I just love it there. The people are great. It's my kind of vibe. And it's a good movie town to shoot stuff. So I'm always hopeful, Steve, that we get another chance to, do one of these things together. I'd love to do that more than anything, brother. Going back to Vancouver and make another movie with you would be great.
From your
Anytime.
That's amazing. Yeah.
I remember reading somewhere that Valentine was like it had the quickest turnaround time of either any Warner Brothers movie of this year or maybe any big.
It was fast.
Okay.
Yeah, we did all the post was done in Vancouver. I remember we did the sound mix and everything up there. So everyone after production left, Steve and I stayed up there working on post for a couple of months, wasn't it, mate? We had to have it ready for February release 2001. So we had a hard deadline to work to.
Yeah, it was tough. It was a really quick one.
Yeah.
Because Gretchen and Aaron, I think you told me that you guys wrote it over Christmas. A lot of it, the Christmas before.
Yeah, we wrote a ton of it over Christmas hiatus from the show we were on. Yeah, we were separate at the time too. Gretchen was in Pittsburgh, I guess, and I was in Philadelphia where my parents lived, and we would get up 5 a.m.
on Christmas break, you guys.
To write. Yeah, it was. You definitely felt the pressure on this one. It wasn't like, take a second, turn it in. Whenever.
Yeah.
It's not like working in streaming television where they're like, do you need a year? Yeah, it was that, and it really was. It was a like even getting the job. It was like, boom. The Warners just knew when they wanted to put it out, and they wanted to capitalize on it in that moment in time, and crazy.
Ooh, something's going on.
I don't know how it was with the writing, but in editing, one reason I think we were able to turn it around so fast is because we were on location. I think if we were in town, there would have been a lot of interference. Everybody would have wanted to lift their leg and so on. And
it was nice being away from the studio.
They let us
work on anyone.
Yeah, they just let us make the film, and that's one of the you can put a film out that fast if you're just allowed to make the film.
Correct.
I've done several that were that quick, 6 and 7 month turnarounds from first day of shoot, and they're no fun unless you're working with Jamie. If you're working with Jamie, it's fun, but that's why. I think speaking strictly for editorial, and I don't know if in the writing phase of things they were letting you do your thing as well.
They did. Yeah. And then once Jamie came on, mean, he was very good about sort of telling us what he needed, and it was a fun collaboration at that point. But it was still fast.
Yeah,
it was very, very fast. And then Gretchen and I, it got to a point when we really weren't truly available at that point too.
Yeah.
So, but there was sort of a moment in time, Jamie, where they sent it over to another writer. I forget who it was, and did a rewrite, but then ultimately they didn't even use that rewrite. So then it came back.
There was a playwright in New York, Todd somebody, who did a whole rewrite of this thing, and they spent a fortune on it, and we didn't use a single word from it.
Yeah.
So that happened on Urban Legend to me too. Silvio, who wrote the script, the whole thing was rewritten by Don Roos at huge expense. Don wrote Single White Female, a great writer, and I think out of Don's whole draft, we maybe used a couple of lines, and I think Don came up with the parking spike gag, but we paid him a fortune for those things. So it's common practice to get scripts rewritten, but I don't always know how valuable
it's hard work coming up with inventive ways to kill people, you know.
The producer called us when they told us they were going to send this out to another writer, and it was just, you know, those Hollywood stories where it was like, we're looking to add more romance, so we've hired the writer of Ants.
That's right.
That'll do it.
Because why wouldn't you hire that guy?
Oh my god.
Yeah, we're like, forget this, see the other way. But then it's funny because I remember you calling us and saying, guys, we're back to your draft. So it all works out here.
it did in this one.
We've got some Deftones on the soundtrack here. Jamie, did you have any input in what music was used in the film?
Yeah, there was a music supervisor who was constantly sending. I've still got him all these CDs that he sent me with tracks that are available that he could get his hands on. And I know he must have sent me 20, 30 CDs over the course of the towards the end of production and all through post. I was listening to stuff, and I signed off on all the music that was in the film. They made me use a Rob Zombie track, which I didn't really want to have in the film. It didn't really work, so I just have it playing, the very intro of it playing as Jessica Capshaw arrives at the mansion, just to get that out of the way, just so they can stick it on the soundtrack if they want to do that. But apart from that, yeah, everything else in the movie is stuff I wanted in there.
Oh, cool. That's cool.
You know, it's a good soundtrack for its time.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, I agree. I've done these with other writers, and I always like to ask them, do you ever feel weird when you're sitting around thinking of different ways to kill people?
It gets the tone of a show that you're writing, it gets into your blood, and that's why oftentimes when we've worked on dark material, this definitely got into our heads. This was for sure, it got a little dark, you know. It did.
Yeah, it did. I mean, you just have to research that stuff, and you have to put yourself in people's positions, and like it also is that sort of feeling of, what would I do in that situation? Because you're trying to. It's not scary if it doesn't seem real, and
right.
But I think. But other times I have to be honest that it's everything, you know, with a bit of. There are times when I feel like it's been therapeutic to have to come up with ways to kill people.
No, and that too.
Oh yeah, there are times when you just like you're really angry at somebody that you're able to put yourself in a situation, and it's much more healthy to put it on the page and pretend.
We are lucky as writers because we do get to work through
a lot,
all of our stuff.
Yeah.
Then, I mean, but you know, we weren't really. We liked horror movies. It wasn't necessarily our genre, but then Jamie comes in with this encyclopedic knowledge of horror, and then I feel like so many people who I've met who truly are passionate about horror, they're some of the lightest, nicest, funniest, fun people, and so
because they get all their demons out in their work.
We brought the fun of that in, but I think initially when we were working on it, it got a little morose at times.
Yeah, but Jamie did bring the sunshine back. So.
Ooh.
Oh, good.
Yes.
That's nice.
I was sorry when bye, honey. She's going over. Well, we might be
we just killed Jessica Caulfield. Yeah.
It's like. Bye bye.
It's so delightful. All the women are so great in this, and they all are just so fun to watch. I was really like, damn it, when she was gone. Even though she was so much fun.
It's true. It's good because you do miss the girls when they get taken out in this movie. They are characters you care about, and that was really important.
they're not cookie cuttery and
No.
yeah, and I mean now talk about another tour de force, Hetty Barras.
Oh my God, she was great as Ruthie. Yeah.
So wonderful.
Wow, she was wonderful and hilarious. I mean, I just remember working with her was just absolutely hysterical. It was such a good time.
Was she also up for?
She auditioned for several different parts, and
Yeah,
she did.
You showed her tape, and we were in love with it. We were like, she could play that. She could do that.
Yeah, you were really advocating for Hetty. I know. I was really pleased when we got her in the movie because I know we all agreed she was fabulous.
Amazing.
And she just rocks that part. And also on the Blu-ray, there's that 2 hours of behind the scenes, and you can see stacks of footage of Hetty just mucking around on set and being silly during her death scene, and it was just a good time. She was an absolute joy. If she ever sees this, Hetty, you were the best, and I loved working with you.
You know, Jamie, your films are so stylish. They have such a great look to them. When you're do you sit down with the director of photography and the set designer, and do you sort of game plan, this is what I want the movie to look like? How does that process go?
I always do that with especially with my cinematographer, looking at movies beforehand, but then once we're actually building sets and we're talking about production, it's a really three-way conversation between the production designer and the DP, and also with Steve Mirkovich, my editor. We're all always talking about the style of the film. We would storyboard key sequence of the movies out, so we knew what we had to build and we knew what we wanted to see. So a lot of planning goes into that stuff. I spend a lot of time thinking about the visual style of the film because it's a visual medium. It's also a sound medium. We've got to spend a lot of time on the audio and the sound design. It's important to get both those worlds as good as they can be. And all the directors I really admire, they've all got their different way of shooting things. But I do love a good, a beautifully framed movie and composed movie. I think it's important.
What did you draw any inspiration from any movies for?
Yeah, lots of movies. I mean, all sorts of different stuff. I've always been in love with Catherine Bigelow's early movies.
Oh yeah,
Blue Steel's one that I adore. There's all sorts of films that I love. But it was really on this one because we were able to build so much of this movie. It wasn't just, like Urban Legend was predominantly shot on location. There was a couple of sets, but this one we were actually constructing a lot of the film. And with Stephen, we had a lot of freedom to kind of invent the worlds that we wanted. And, I didn't have that luxury prior to this film. So Steve and I had a really great experience together, just building all those sets and just talking about the look of the film. And Stephen came with a huge amount of ideas about the visual look of the movie, which I loved. It was just like we talked before, the jungle out there and everything. There was so many cool takes on things that we just worked really well together. I just loved every minute of it. Steve, your whole team was amazing, but you really captained that ship.
No, you're the captain of the ship. I'm just one of the line commanders.
But yeah, no, it was wonderful. We've got Fulvio here, Detective Vaughn. Now, how funny is this in the Me Too era? We've got a sequence like that. I mean, we sort of thought it was a bit risky at the time, but we just wanted to give Denise an opportunity just to squash him like a bug, And she gets a few of those moments in the movie, and she's wonderful in it.
One of the things I really love about this movie is that all of the ladies in this film have their own unique voice and personality. And like with Paige, for instance, in any other slasher, she'd be just, she'd be the slut and she wouldn't make it beyond the second reel. But here she knows what she wants. She knows how to get it. She's fierce. She's ballsy. Right. And I mean, to me, that makes her infinitely more sexy. You know what I mean? That's really cool. Well, but Peter, you would know in these kind of movies after Scream, it was very hard to do slasher films because people were expecting them to be kind of meta or self-aware or commenting on the fact that they're a film within a film or whatever. So Urban Legend was a chance to try and do a little bit of that, but exploring it through Urban Legend. In Valentine, I wanted to go and do a straight slasher film, do a straight horror movie, but with real characters and with girls who aren't in university. They're sort of mid-20s. They're sort of beginning their professional lives. And so just kind of a different focus on character. And I really wanted them all to have their own personality. And I think that, Gretchen and Aaron created such wonderful characters on the page. It was just really important we cast the right people to embody those roles. And like Jessica Caulfield, for instance, who played Lily, I cast her on the spot after the audition. I literally offered her the part right after the audition because I knew that's perfect. I'd sent a bunch of girls to that role. And she
jumped off the page. So, and Jessica Capshaw came in to read for a different role, and we asked her to read for Dorothy, and she knocked that out of the park too. I mean, Dorothy was kind of a different character. I think Jessica Capshaw brought a lot to that role that wasn't necessarily always the way the character was conceived, but I think she. How do you guys feel about it, Gretchen and Aaron? Do you like her performance?
I loved her performance because I feel like she, like, you know, and that's the great thing about finally getting to see actors and directors working with your words, because you always have the movie in your head. But I love Jessica's performance because she does fit with this friendship group. Like
That's right.
They're all in various stages of trying to, like you said, it's a time in their lives where they're really independently who they are, but they're still figuring so much out about like what they want out of life, what's important to them, who they're going to associate with, like the whole struggle with like David Boreanaz's character being like, you know, the fact that he was formerly drank and stuff, and so Riley Shelton was sort of not sure if I want to be with this guy for various reasons, and as I'm thinking in the future, I loved, going back to your question, I think Jessica did such a wonderful job because she does feel, I think, in performance much more like sort of fully formed as a character.
Yeah,
I agree.
The thing that's interesting about that role of Dorothy, which was our favorite, I think, when we were writing it, was
we had so much fun.
Dorothy was the killer in
That's right.
drafts. So, and I don't know, Jamie, if you told her that, like there's no way Jessica would have seen that script. But when you watch what she does in every scene and you look at her, you go, she's the killer. I mean, she acts the scenes like she knows that she hates.
She's got something else.
Absolutely.
It's true, and we definitely talked about that because we knew we were going to build to that moment where she was going to be unmasked as the killer. A lot of people confused about that, actually. I get even today people asking me, were there two killers in the movie? It's like, no. In the version of Valentine, you see Jeremy Melton is the one who murders everybody. Dorothy's just a prop that he throws down the stairs. Yeah.
It ended up, the cool thing about going down that road initially where Dorothy was the killer was it made her character so much deeper and it rounded her out. So Jessica Capshaw had a lot to, I think, sink her teeth into. And had we not done that version of Dorothy, I don't think she would have been as interesting. Because and what's so great about what Jessica Capshaw does is when she's interfacing with Benita Ha, the actress who plays her stuff, when she's interfacing with all of these other people, I mean, there's just this simmering rage underneath her that
she's underappreciated.
And we really she was our fave. Yeah. But the thing,
I love the character too.
We loved Paige a lot, and the thing that's interesting about Lily was I think she was the least defined on the page, and that's a perfect example of an actor taking a part that maybe was just a little bit sort of I would say just in terms of the character as written, wasn't probably as defined, and she just made it her own.
Well, she did, and she's got such an amazingly gorgeous personality as a human being, just as a person. That's what I told her during the audition. I said, I was chatting to her before she did the read and everything. I'm like, you know what? Just play Lily as you. Pretend you're saying this. Don't try and embody another character. It's you. I want your personality in this role. And she brought so much to it, and it's I'm always grateful to Jessica for that because she just really elevated that role and elevated the whole film by being in it. And she's a wonderful person. I love her very, very much.
Yeah, I really love the Dorothy character. Oh, I'm sorry, Peter. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. For Gretchen and Aaron, was it hard on deciding to make Kate the final girl and not one of the other characters?
I think that was built in, right?
I think we always knew that she was going to be the one who made it. I mean, yeah. But does she make it?
I'm sorry again.
That's right.
But in a lot of times, like, it doesn't matter any television show, any movie. A lot of times, that is the hardest person to write for because they're supposed to be the one everybody's most identifying with, and so I think that temptation a lot of times. And again, this is 20 years ago, so we were all much earlier in our careers collectively, but like there's sometimes an impulse to sort of not make that character so individual or quirky or whatever. And I think we were all trying to figure out early for this script. I mean, she had just as much backstory and stuff to figure out pain. And again, I think Marley did such an amazing job that I compliment Peter to say, like, did you know if that's who the person was going to be or any thought went into it? Because I feel like any one of these ladies could have been the last one standing. Don't you think? I mean,
that's right. That's right.
I would have cheered for any of them. So it's also great casting, fantastic, great direction more than anything is what I want.
I think they say, but great directing is getting the cast right. That's 90% of your job done. If you cast the right people, it becomes a hell of a lot easier than if you don't.
Yeah. They're awesome.
Where are we up to? Oh, we got the Denise thing here. She's just.
Why don't
what a delightful person she was. Just a great girl, and I was just surprised how like funny and sassy she was in that role. And she's a gorgeous looking girl, but she's a gorgeous person on the inside as well. Yeah. And everybody on the movie loved working with her. And she was just all in. She wanted to make every scene great. She wanted to do the best job possible. Every shot that we set up with her, she wanted to make it great. And I'll always be grateful to her for that.
She is great. When we met her, we were lucky enough. Jamie was able to get us.
I wanted you guys on set so badly. I had this Kate Condell there, and I'm like, no, I wanted you guys there all the time, and I just remember saying, how can we get you guys back up there? And I wanted you to stay.
But we got to go up, and it was so fun because you were shooting at the mansion then. But I remember when Denise came, when it was like Denise landed, she's at base camp, she's here, and we got to meet her, and I just remember her also being kind of shy, Yeah,
she was
quiet, kind of reserved. And so then to watch what she does there, she really made this part her own too.
Yeah.
She did. The very first thing we shot with Denise was at the mansion, and she was dancing, and I think Marley comes up to her. It's the first time they sort of meet each other at the party, and she just inhabited the role from that moment on. It was just like she was on. Yeah, it was really wonderful. Hey, Steve Mirkovich, editing this thing, we should talk a little bit about the process of cutting the film as we went along. How did that? Was it an easy experience? Because I remember trying to always say, "Am I missing any shots? Do you need anything like this? Can I get you an angle of that?" And you, just let me know.
Look, I always want more shots because there's just more ways to get out of things, or to get into things. But I found it to be a really great experience. I mean, you allowed me to just do my cut, and it was great. You have enough to worry about during production. So, I figure as long as I know what your preferences are, I do everything I can to include those in my cut.
Yeah.
But it's not like I want you to go from here to here to here to here. And so once you take those parameters off and those shackles off, it's just, you just tell the story. You just tell the story.
Yeah.
And we're all an audience. I mean, let's face it, we're all an audience. So, without getting too thoughty about the whole thing, you just want to go where if you want to go where you want to see. If somebody said something to you, and it's a great performance on me, and a lot of directors will say, "Oh, just stay there. It's a great performance," but heck with it, I mean, if I'm saying something, I want to see what your reaction is. If I have a great performance, it's going to be a great performance over you too, and. Everybody tries to infuse, or a lot of people try to infuse a style. I get asked a lot of times, well, what's your style? And I just, I don't know what to say. Do I be artsy fartsy and make something up? Or do I just say, look, we're all audiences. You just want to have a rhythm that you keep through a scene, especially in horror movies. You want to be able just to breathe in and breathe out. And on that exhale, that's when you punch them in the gut. There's a natural rhythm to everything, and you have it in your direction. And the sets are beautiful, and the photography is beautiful, and the writing is good, and everybody is just doing their thing, and it just really allows people to have that natural rhythm. When something's out of sync. When you're watching a movie and something stutters, and you go, oh. And a lot of times you can't put your finger on what it is that's wrong, and it's just that it's out of rhythm. It's really that simple. So it was. I don't think any film is easy to cut. It's challenging. Every film is different. Some are more challenging than others, but this, like any film that I've cut. There's some really fun. All the scenes are fun, especially when you're playing with people's emotions. When you can knock the wind out of them, or make them laugh, or make them cry, it's awesome, you know. And
well, I love that you use a lot of music too when you're cutting. You don't just cut, you know, straight.
Yeah.
You're always working with layers of sound and effects you'll put in. You just make sure it feels full, and the rhythms are always really good. It was a really good experience, brother. It was really
good.
fun.
I have to say, with composers, I don't think composers enjoy my music editing, because I'll take 4 or 5 really well-known composers and I will blend their music in one scene. And so when I finally turn it over, you know, Don Davis, you know, he's a great guy. You know, wow, okay, so you got James Newton Howard, you got Brian Tyler, you got John Debney, you got, you know, how am I supposed to, you know, everybody falls in temp love, you know, so, you know, but it's just fun. Look, I'm very whorish about my cuts. I'll do anything I have to do to sell them. If I got to steal somebody's music, if I got to, you know, it's or put in some outrageous sound effect that's going to make you jump out of your seat. I try to do that with visuals versus cheap sound effects, because, you know, but yeah, I'll do what I have to do to sell my cut. Like, you know, that's just the way it is. You know? But yeah, thank you.
Editing always seemed to me like the most overwhelming part of filmmaking, because you've got all this footage, you've got multiple takes, you've got, you know, and then to piece it all together, the best parts of it, like a puzzle, to create this, to make a story out of it, just seems really overwhelming.
You know, it's a visual way. It's not, you know, some people have said, oh, you're the third writer. No, we're not. We're not writers. We are taking what we're given and we are building and building and building. You don't want to overuse close-ups. You want to make sure if you're in a close-up, it's for a reason. You want to, because the audience is looking to how we relay through our cutting. They want to know if you're in close on somebody, they're going to lean forward because it's important. If you're back wide, there's a beauty of it. You're taking in the set and the atmosphere, and you're, you know, there's so many. You know, and it's not conscious decisions you're making. If you're really into the film, you're just saying, I want to get closer. I want to get closer. I want to
instinctually, you know what to cut.
Yeah, I think so. You know, some people say, oh, don't overuse the close-ups. And I believe that. If you do, by the time it's important and you're still in it, nobody's going to understand why you're there. It's just gonna, you know, it just plays right through a moment, you know. So, you know.
Well, I'm sure what director you're working with makes a huge difference. If you're working with somebody like Jamie or a John Carpenter, for instance, you know, who know what they're doing.
Look, I think that most directors I've worked with have really keen sensibilities. Everybody has their strengths, and everybody has their weaknesses, you know, and you know, it's our job to try to balance that out, you know, and you know, I can't write. I don't compose. I probably couldn't direct. You know, I just think that those.
You have directed. Didn't you do some second unit stuff on I Know What You Did Last summer?
Yeah,
you've directed.
Yeah, but you know, look, I'm the only person in the Directors Guild who I don't like to get up early. I can't do that. I mean, it's production. You guys can have production. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I like to work out in the morning, get into work at 9:30 or 10, work until I'm tired, whether it's midnight or 2 or 6 or wherever it is. And you know, you just go in, and people pretty much stay out of my way. You know, they don't understand what we do. And you know,
I like it that way.
Yeah, it's like, is Steve in? He's a little eccentric today. Oh, okay. Tell him we said hi. You know, I mean, it's all a big facade. It's all baloney, you know. But it's just, you know, you get into a groove, and there are no clocks. You know, they push your lunch in under the door. We don't work in dark rooms, and you know, it's just not the way it is. You know, I mean, I work in the light. You know, they go, wow, and, you know, it's yeah, I don't know. It's great.
I was going to say earlier that the Dorothy character is kind of the one that I identify with the both. And I think in the end, she's kind of like the ultimate victim. She's like the one that almost gets out the worst. And because it really started with her. And if she had just kissed.
Yes, it seems like an awfully big disproportionate response to the crime she committed as a young girl. It's a little bit over the top.
Also, you feel really bad with, Danny Cosgrove's character, because you really want her to find love and
You do.
he's treating her so badly. Yeah,
he's such a good manipulator, and we all know what he's doing, and it's just painful to watch. And he's great in the movie. Nothing like that in real life. A gorgeous guy, super lovely guy.
So sweet.
But he plays it beautifully.
He's great. He's one of those guys who's so wonderful in real life, but on screen you love to hate him. Like when he plays those roles, he's wonderful. He is a phenomenal, kind and wonderful and funny.
Beautiful man. Super great dad and a good man. But he's one of those characters in the movie that you're kind of rooting for the killer this time. Yeah. Campbell deserves it.
What is nice though about, I mean, it is interesting because I do feel like, Jamie, you reserved some of the more brutal kills for the dudes.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
With the iron and it's a bit more vicious that way. Yeah.
They're assholes. Yes.
Most of the guys in this movie, you kind of want to die.
With the exception of the guy that Katherine Heigl bumps into in the locker room.
Yeah.
He's the only nice guy in the movie, really.
He's only in it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, the rest it's just like a huge myriad of complex toxic male character flaws.
There's a lot of toxic masculinity going on there. You're totally
and there's a lot, and that's a big part of what we were commenting on in the script. It's like, what are these girls up against in the dating scene? They're like up against this level of toxicity. These men who is just I know the world owes them sex or something, and they're it's just
that's why you don't speed date. If you want to find a good guy, you go to church, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's why churches still exist and speed dating is gone.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, Steve Geaghan, was this a set, the boiler room, or was this actually? I think this might have been a location, wasn't it? Or did we build this? I can't remember.
That was the bottom of the house.
Right, so that actually existed. So
that actually existed. Then we added more pipes to it, but yes, that existed.
Right.
We looked out on that.
Right. Because I wanted that hallway where we see the flickering light and we see the silhouette of and it all worked great. That was perfect.
It never happens that way, but it did here.
Yeah, the geography just worked out perfectly for how the scene was conceived, and it was really easy to block that scene in that location. Oh, now we're into the party. Now we should talk a bit about this because this was a massive amount of prep for you, Mr. Geaghan. Your team were on this party for, weeks setting all this stuff up and probably weeks more getting it all ready and prepared and created.
It looks fantastic.
Talk a little bit about what was involved in that.
There were a number of issues about that house. Is you couldn't put anything into the wall. So everything we had to find ways of hanging things, all the decoration that were non-invasive into the structure because it is a heritage house.
Right.
And we have ways of doing that. It's just that it takes 3 times the amount of work and a lot of ingenuity to hang the drapery and to hang the crepe paper and everything. And it just we had to be very careful about how we dealt with the fabric wallpaper. We would use straight pins to hang the drapery, and
you had those tapestries that were printed or something that you created that hung on the stairwell and everything. I noticed it was all these different ways to break up that wall in the background.
That's right.
So many interesting things visually with that set, and you see a lot of it in the movie. Once you fill those rooms full of people, it gets a little hard to see all that work. But oh my God, it was. You see actually a lot of it on the DVD. There is a lot of stuff shot behind it of that set. And you see the amount of work that went into it, and it's just mind blowing. Guys did an incredible job with that.
The whole point of production design is so that you design a set so that the audience knows at a glance who or what inhabits it without a word ever being said.
That's right.
Yep. With virtually every environment that we produced for this film, you can say that we hit our marks.
Oh, you sure did. Yeah, really did. And it holds up to this day. I think the film visually still looks stunning. I think it's paced really well, Steve. It doesn't feel slow to me at all. It's got a good rhythm to it. I'm really pleased after 20 years how it all holds up on several levels. And then on a story level too, the kind of toxic male culture we were calling out back then has been kind of brought to account a little bit more in recent years. And the film feels a little more relevant on some of those levels too. So that's always pleasing.
Being a toxic male, I take that personally.
Nothing toxic about you, brother. Nothing toxic at all. So where are we up to? Oh, here we are. So this is one of Denise's first scenes too, with the wax it guy.
The wax.
This is Dylan Salad. Dylan was this scene was very important to Dylan. The candle wax.
I can imagine it was very important. Yes.
No, it's great stuff.
One thing I wanted to mention to you, Jamie, was
Yeah.
the look of the killer, putting them in that big trench coat. It's not like a huge person under that, so it could easily have been a guy or a girl.
That,
So is
that
that
was the
kind of-
idea, to make
Okay.
it a little bit nebulous. So it could be either or. We wanted to keep the audience thinking, about all sorts of suspects, and it just made sense. Plus, it was just a cool look, that cherub in the trench coat, just and creepy, really creepy. I always remember this at Warner Brothers when the mask was delivered and we were doing the first test with it. It was just going to be scary, and as soon as we put it on in that costume, I was like, no, you could tell straight away this is going to be. Once you light it the right way and put him in the right environment, show him the right way on film. And a lot of people's favorite things about the movie has been the mask and the killer and the look of the killer and everything. And it's slasher fans sort of dig that. So I'm glad, at least on that level, the surface level, slasher trope level, that we got that stuff right.
There they are.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean,
pale.
Yes.
Yeah. That's about right.
and this wasn't a huge, for to be a studio, Warner Brothers film. This didn't have like a huge budget, but it looks like $1 million.
It really.
Oh, I made that joke in the.
I know.
I misspoke in the first meeting with the studio. I said, "Don't worry, guys. It's going to look like $1 million, and we're spending 10 on the film." No, I misspoke. No, I think the film looks great, and for a low-budget movie, we pulled off some miracles, and it wouldn't have been able to be done anywhere else. Don't think other than Vancouver with that team. We were able to pull it together the way they did. We didn't have to compromise on it. Certainly, as a director, I didn't have to compromise on things. I had sets, like Stephen said, that were built that we just didn't get around to shooting. So it wasn't like we had any issues on the production design front. All of that was covered, and I couldn't be happier with all that stuff. Really, really a blessing, and you don't always get to work with teams at that level. I'm really grateful that on this one I did. It's a fantastic team.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel limited in any way. It really doesn't. I mean, I feel like there's so many. I feel like true locations. We're everywhere, all over the place. You feel like you're just really. These ladies are busy. They're all over the place. They have work. They have social lives. They have whatever. Are you ready for some facts?
Yeah.
No.
No, that's it. No, that's it.
No, I was also going to say, the hair and makeup team did a great job too. I mean,
the girls look gorgeous.
It looks. I mean, there's not a lot of like early aughts tragedy trendiness going. Like the film doesn't feel. I mean, maybe Jessica Caulfield's hair feels a little bit of that era, but all of these actors look terrific. I mean, they
do. And the wardrobe and costuming is really lovely too.
Really
it feels still contemporary.
Yeah,
yes, very much. So.
You had good department heads there too.
Yeah, no, I was very, very lucky. I mean, it was Steve Geaghan. You guys had worked together a lot on TV before. Doing Valentine, you and Grant Rosenberg had a bit of a history together, so I was really lucky to be able to plug into this team that kind of already existed, that we're used to working together and used to working on tight time frames and everything too.
Yeah, we spent 6 years on Outer Limits prior to that. That's 6 seasons.
That's right.
So I got to know Grant and his production capabilities very well. He's very easy to work with, very direct, very straightforward, and very calm. So nothing ever upset him. He just said, well.
No, he was steady Eddie. That guy was great. Yeah. Lovely to work with Grant.
Real solid man.
Real pro. Yeah.
All right. Whose idea was the wax it scene?
Yeah, really.
Whose idea was that?
I think it might. I know Dylan Sellers, the producer, was really keen on that scene. I mean, like I said before, it might have been Dylan that came up with it. It's like wax. I'm pretty sure it was Dylan that came up with wax it. It was just waxed. Another example. Yeah. Another example for Paige to just kind of kick a guy to the curb. Oh, that's Eddie.
Yeah, this is when my movie starts.
Yeah, she's wonderful. He loves your trust fund.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
It really is so. She really is. You're right, Justin. She is like we really piled on poor Dorothy. If we were doing a rewrite, we needed to protect her a little more. She doesn't deserve all this.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of, Jamie mentioned he wanted this to feel kind of like an 80s slasher. A lot of 80s slashers are about the sins of the past coming back to haunt you. So this is sort of her sin of the past coming back to dump on her,
It's funny directing these party scenes with all these extras. They have to, for sound purposes, not make any noise, pretend that they're dancing, and then the actors have to talk really loudly because they're talking over the music that's going to be playing. So getting rushes like that, very, very strange. And you think, have I gone too far? Does this completely suck? Have I totally screwed the movie by shooting it this way? It's not easy to do this stuff.
I always imagined that they shot it without music, and you just had to dance like there was music, so that
that's what they do. Yeah,
that's it.
That's how they do it. Yeah, everyone's just moving around, not making any sound, but the actors are yelling really loud at each other. It's very strange.
The background is actually that is not easy to do.
No.
It's my hat is off.
Especially with my ADD. I would just start looking at the people talking and not paying attention to my hand.
So I'd be over in the corner doing the robot, totally out of everybody else.
Yeah, Jamie, didn't you use a playback to start just to get him into?
Yeah, my first idea would play music before we roll. And I remember this Don French, the lovely guy, Canadian man, who everybody boogie and action, and then we'd kill the music and the scene would start.
Everybody boogie.
It was very funny. But it worked out all right. Once we stuck that source music in, Steve, it all seemed to sound fine. The actors talked at the right level, and I was nervous about that for a while. I thought, I really messed this up.
Yeah. It's definitely standing the test of time, It really is.
So now we're going to kill Ruthie.
Yes.
So this is she's going from a practical location, right? This room was in the mansion.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and now this is all practical, and then she goes down the hallway, and then you built that bathroom, but in situ.
Yes, exactly.
Right. That's. I'm just remembering all the geography now and how we shot this, and I love this is one of the only times in a slasher movie where some character just randomly bumps into the killer who's in the middle of moving bodies around. The bodies are always turning up somewhere, not where they were killed. They show up in a closet or they fall out of a tree or something. You never see the killer move the body. I love
it.
The backstage behavior.
We have to kill Ruthie. She's not connected to the revenge plot.
This would happen.
She just has to die for another reason. She dies because she sees him killing the maid. The maid, we don't even see the maid get wasted, but she's taken out. And there's some very heavy giallo tones in these murder scenes, like this shot in particular.
Get him, Ruthie! Get him, Ruthie!
Yeah. It looks cool.
If they ever make another Friday the 13th, I want to see a scene where somebody interrupts Jason while he's hanging a body from a tree. And he's like, "Oh man, this is far. Oh, well, there's somebody."
Yeah. You saw it here first. Now, the sauna was part of the same set, so we were still in the mansion shooting that stuff. Yeah, right. That's right, because I remember we only had certain angles we could get under those little under the seats there. Right, it's all coming back to me.
Do you storyboard the whole thing, or are there some scenes?
I only storyboard sequences that involve more than one camera, or if they involve action and special effects. And so all the murder scenes we storyboarded. I don't tend to storyboard dialogue scenes because I know roughly how I'm going to stage those. I don't really need visual represent, but I do for all the kills and anything that involves tricky camera shots or stuff. We want to be able to tick all those off as we get them as we go.
Yeah,
this was all
storyboarded. Sorry, say again, Aaron.
I said this is really well cut.
Yeah, it is. It's beautifully done. Yeah, no, I love the cut. I love the lighting. It's just everything works here. It's a great set.
I also really appreciate how she's kept her sweater on.
No, that's it.
Now that's the final girl.
That's commitment.
If she's going out in style.
That sweater is tied.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh no, it's fun to see it all again. She really was great fun. And this was a brutal murder. My God, throwing her through the shower screen and impaling her on the glass like that. Really vicious one.
Yeah.
Oh, we're all sick puppies.
Hey, Gretchen, did you and Aaron discuss Pizowell was talking about so the 80s slasher movies were like the sins of the past. Did you guys? I think you said you originally had kind of the scene at the beginning with Dorothy was kind of there's more of a humiliation on Jeremy to make him, did that kind of change Jeremy's motive as you guys developed it?
Well, that is interesting. I mean, it was a different. The opening was. I mean, I think in the original script they really went to town on that guy. I mean, in a way that just
you were on board for any anger.
They virtually justified the rampage at that point. It was. I remember reading that.
Yeah. But anyway, So I think also because it was a relatively late, as we were talking about, a late sort of switch it to being, it not being Dorothy. So I think also it sort of like, and it works. So it's almost crazy how well it works because you're like, oh
yeah.
So I think it's funny because like the beginning and the end kind of really did change, but the middle all stayed very similar to what it was.
It did. Yeah.
There really wasn't a lot of, I mean, in terms of rewriting or structure, I mean, the architecture of this, the scaffolding really held.
Yeah.
And then anything that was tweaked, it was sort of tweaked within scenes or, little pieces here and there. But and the original script by Donna and Wayne, I feel like the humiliation happened in college. I think.
Right.
I seem to recall, and again, like it was a very brutal. That's what I was saying. Like the tone of that was it was unhinged, like in the best of ways, but like,
also like a criminal.
It was it was super close to like a criminality, and the women were just like they just took him to. I mean, I feel like they had him in a desk chair, and they were like pushing him naked across campus, and he was tied up, and maybe they pushed him over not a cliff, but something like that. And this just changed. I mean, so this changed a bit, but clearly David's character really took that to heart.
Yeah. Well, the girls are more sympathetic in this draft. I just think it would have been impossible to do that level of humiliation and then get on board with these girls later in the movie. I didn't want my film definitely doesn't side with Jeremy Melton. I'm on the side of the women at every stage in the film, and that's the movie I wanted to make, and that's the perspective I want. We condemn Jeremy Melton. He's an awful, and he's tried to attempt at justifying his rampage at the very, very end before we reveal who he is with the blood nose. He projects all that on Dorothy. That's basically his confession, and you'll see. Yeah, we definitely do not side with Jeremy Melton.
I mean, don't you feel too like? I mean, I feel like the women understand that what they did was wrong.
They do.
I mean, they definitely keep that. They keep that in the scenes. I mean, Paige is snarky about it here and there, but. I mean, I think Jeremy has a lot of problems.
Jeremy's got a lot of issues.
Yeah. But he really made it to the gym.
he had a good plastic surgeon, and he hit the gym hard.
So here's this extraordinary set you built, Steve. My God, this the Jacuzzi Room, and I love all the plants and everything. It's just got a beautiful feel about it. And it does feel like it belongs in that mansion. It does. You tie the visual style of it together really well. It does just feel like
a real rich person's house. Always.
When we wrote this kill, I don't think we ever dreamed that it would get filmed. It just seemed like it was too complicated, or it might be too expensive or whatever, but you pulled it off so well. I mean, this is just one of those rare moments where you write something and it ends up happening and you're like, wow, that just is rare.
No, it was crazy. I actually was visited on the days that we shot this by another filmmaker named Don Coscarelli, who made a bunch of films that I loved growing up. And he was there on set with me, between lunch breaks, I remember just blocking everything out with Don, and it was kind of cool because he's the guy whose posters I used to have up my bedroom wall was actually sitting with me while I'm planning this sequence out and talking it through with him. And I just remember being really happy to have his counsel during the making of this scene because it was such a key scene in the movie. I wanted to get it right. And,
how did that happen, Jamie? How did that end up happening that he was on set? Did you know him?
I befriended him after Urban Legend. I found him through a website and just wrote to him saying what a big fan of his I was. And there's some references to his movies in Urban Legend. And I just wanted to say, you know, if you do watch the movie, they are conscious. I wasn't ripping you off. I'm trying to pay homage to you. And he said, let's go have a beer. And we became really good friends. And he did a live stream with me on Justin's channel recently. He did the commentary on this movie with me, actually, on the Blu-ray. We did a commentary track together. And he's a very, very dear friend. And it was amazing having him there. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Oh, now this poor girl, the stunt woman, thrown into the jacuzzi, got hurt. Like, actually, a few people got hurt under this stunt coordinator. The stunt coordinator's son played the cherub, and he had to get clocked over the head earlier with a pool cue, and the idea that we would cut the pool cue enough so that it would break. But he took the full force of this thing, and this girl got injured too, unfortunately. Normally, you'd like to have a clean bill of health with the stunts, but there were a couple of mishaps on this one. But really good stuff, though. You know, I mean, it looks amazing. And
one of the scariest horror movies when I was a kid. There's a movie with Roger Daltrey where he's swimming and they come up and the pool is like glass.
Oh yeah, what's that one? I know the scene you're talking about.
All going there to get
the legacy. Yeah.
But
right.
So that was sort of in our brains too a little bit when we were. I mean, this would be my worst nightmare right here, probably.
Oh, it's hideous.
Wow.
It's terrifying.
But Jamie, you added all of this great stuff because he did just throw the drill in. I think to that sequence. It was not as insanely exciting.
So you wrote your worst nightmare down, and then Jamie just upped it.
I just made it worse. I can make it worse for you.
You thought you had a worst nightmare. Now there's a new one.
Steve, when you're editing a big kill scene like this, do you have a certain philosophy about?
Jamie, I think the only thing that bothered us was that it was a battery-powered drill that he throws in.
Yeah, right.
There was a cord on it, though, wasn't there?
There was a cord.
No, yeah, we had it.
But it wasn't.
No, it's just the batteries. That's all right.
It was enough to carry.
The magic of movies.
When you get a film like this that has so many pieces, you just really start blocking it out and whittling away and until it's making sense, and then you want to jumble it up and throw little tiny cutaways in here and there just to beef up the pace and the energy of the scene. But you just have to start with something big and come down. It's much like writing with ideas. I would imagine that you have this thing you want to do and you got to figure out how to do it. You keep squeezing it and stuff falls out that doesn't belong there, but it's just, again, you just got to make sure you look at everything, and don't cut yourself into corners, So, I love big action scenes that have, that have just gobs of footage, because a lot of people kind of shy away from that stuff. And I actually love that because you can spend 2-3 weeks on one action scene. Just,
Yeah, I was lucky. Rick Boda had shot a few action films before he did this movie, so he was really well versed in covering that stuff. He did a really terrific job. I love the lighting in the movie too. This is a lovely shot too with the two girls.
It's beautiful.
Yes, Jessica Capture was very good here. I'm getting an echo somewhere.
Yeah, I'm hearing that too.
Because this could almost be her, killer monologue at the end after she's been unmasked,
Yeah, that's right. I think that was the idea, is to justify what we see later on.
Yeah. And I think you said, Jamie, didn't she audition for a different role first, and you asked her to play?
She did. She auditioned for one of the other girls, and it was Dylan's idea to get her to read for Dorothy. And I'm like, you want me to ask Steven Spielberg's stepdaughter to read for the fat girl in the film? Is that what you're asking me to do, Dylan? And And I carefully explained to her, like, you know, what it was. And she was a little bit shocked at first that we wanted her to read for that role. Well, once we explained to her why, she was. Is
someone who's They all look so stunningly gorgeous. It's
yeah, exactly. She's she's a beautiful girl. I haven't seen Jessica or Marley or even Denise actually in a long time. So it would be nice to catch up with them one of these days and chat about the film. They all were interviewed by Peter though for the Blu-ray, and it was really nice to see that they had good recollections of being in the film.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Did they have fun, Peter? Did they have a nice?
Oh, totally. Well, when we went to Denise's house, I'd never had this happen. We were like pulling our stuff in, and she came out of the house and said, "Here, let me help you." She started carrying equipment. Like, what actress would like?
That's right.
That up. It was pretty amazing.
Midwest, right?
Midwestern.
Yeah.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Although it's hard to think of Denise Richards like in high heels and a sexy dress, lugging one of those like big, metal cases over her shoulder.
Well, she was getting herself done up, I remember, so she had to make up here.
Yeah, so this is all the grounds of the mansion, right, Stephen? This is all just part of the same place. Yeah,
it was quite beautiful. And as I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, what did we have to do there with all the balloons, all of the decoration that we put in there?
Yeah, like all of that stuff, all the lights there. It looks lovely. It really is nice.
I love too how like everyone just leaves the minute the lights go out.
Yeah, mass exodus.
Party's over.
Yeah.
And these little cherubs and all the production design touches are so lovely here. It really works well. And I love how we revealed David in the shot. Just sort of emerges out of the background there.
Yeah. So at what point did you decide to not go with Dorothy and make it Jeremy? Was that always from the beginning of the script, or was that during production that the decision was made?
I'm trying to remember myself. Do you guys remember?
I really don't.
I don't.
Because I think your script might have been, we hung it on Dorothy at the end of that.
And I think
draft.
This is again just like there features. It's always like everybody. It's passing on the baton, and it does take a village a lot of times to bring together. But I remember thinking, again, I was much younger then, 20 years ago, like, it will never work. How would it work? It's Dorothy. How would it work? And then you see the movie and you're like, oh, it worked.
I think it also could have possibly also been getting David. I mean, I honestly think that changed things as well. I mean,
like when you got David,
people were having, and rightly so. I mean, I like the choice that was made ultimately here. It was the right way to go. The film that we're watching.
Yeah.
So I'm really happy with it, but I think also I mean, truly getting David was at that time was massive.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
And I don't think it was one of those things where it's like you don't cast him and then just kind of make him,
a secondary character. Yeah. He loved that he was the villain. He loved that he asked me, so do I get to wear the mask and do I get to do all the kills? I'm like, I've only got you for 10 days. I'm not going to stick you behind a mask, David Boreanaz.
Was it difficult scheduling all of his things so you could shoot?
It really was. That was the trickiest part of the film. Is for Dave. It's just trying to shoot all that stuff out in that 10 days. So he worked. Yeah, I mean everything you see in the movie. Yeah. It's like when they got Donald Pleasance in Halloween, right? They only had him for a small amount of time. They had to shoot all that stuff out. So you just do it. And
I think you said, Jamie, this was shot a lot quicker than Urban Legend. You had a much longer production.
Yeah, I had a couple extra weeks on Urban Legend than this one. But also this one, because we had sets and things, it was actually a little bit more easy to shoot, and we were far more efficient than lugging things from location to location every day on Urban Legend. It was much harder in Toronto. Steve Geaghan and his team made it much easier for me to shoot this movie the way that it was set up.
Jamie, do you remember, Gretchen too, like how we landed on the nosebleed? Because I think
I do remember the story actually. I remember talking to Dylan about a way to reveal the killer, and I said it'd be really nice to find a good economical way to do it so that it's one of the last things we reveal and it's a twist. And I said I don't want to have to do it with lots of explanation and I don't want to have to make it complicated. And I just used an example from a film that I love from 1982 called Alone in the Dark, where they had a character with the nosebleed, and it pays off beautifully at the end with a great twist. A character you're not expecting to be that guy, and you know it just from one shot. There's a little drop of blood, and all of a sudden that whole story is revealed and makes sense in that one moment. And as you said to Dylan, that's an example of something that I want to do here. It's just a really cool economical way where we get the twist and it lands like that. And I used that example, and he said, let's just steal that. Well, that's stealing. And it just ended up making, he said, you love the idea of the killer's nose bleeding every time he killed. And that was kind of creepy, this cherub with the, so it all sort of just, it evolved into what it became. And then Jack Shoulder, the director of Alone in the Dark, is featured on the Blu-ray of Urban Legend on Valentine's Blu-ray as an Easter egg where, we show him that scene, and he kind of comments, and he says, well, he'll take it as a homage rather than a rip-off.
This film departs from most of the other 90s slashers. It's the only one that doesn't have the big killer reveal James Bond monologue.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, I'd done that already, and I couldn't go through it. I even had a killer with PowerPoint in the slide presentation. She had the whole thing figured out. We did next level kind of Bond villain thing.
We call that monologue the I'm evil monologue.
That's right. I've already tried therapy. It did me no good, Natalie. Yeah. Yeah, she was really fun in that scene. But yeah, I wanted to go a different route with this one. I wanted to make, like I said, more of a traditional 80s kind of stalk and slash horror. Hopefully elevated a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And here we go with the crazy wallpaper and and the stairwell. Steve, I remember this very, very well.
Plaid wallpaper in, Steve?
Sorry?
Did you put the plaid wallpaper in?
Yes.
Was that yours? The zebra head, was that yours?
Yes.
If you got
everything, all the dressing was us.
Wall.
We had to find ways of putting it on those walls that didn't damage the walls.
Yeah. No, it's great stuff. And a wonderful camera team too. We haven't talked much about Rick Boder and his team, but they did an incredible job with this movie. It's beautifully lit, and it was so lovely to see it get transferred with Rick's supervision for the Blu-ray and see it look like it should. It's lovely to have two slasher films, two horror films that were shot on 35mm now. Everything's all digital. My last two films are all digital. I don't love the digital as much. I mean, it's really efficient. It's really efficient. But it misses some of the magic. And I think there's something about rolling film. When you press that button, you start spending money, right? The minute that film's rolling, it's going to cost you money. You've got to process it. You've got to make it's expensive. So you make sure what's going through the camera is worth rolling on. You really do. With the digital stuff, for editors especially, I've been on the receiving end of tons of footage just because they can roll for that long. You know, and it's not always the best way to go. There's something about the discipline of and the look of film that digital will never replace.
It's changed the way sets are. Sets are so much more undisciplined. They're louder. It's just like you don't feel like you're running money through a camera. I've noticed a total difference. It's like digital. Yeah,
it's really interesting. I've just seen that technology now, Steve, Geaghan, where they've got this. They use it on The Mandalorian, and they've just built one in Australia where they've got these digital sets. So the backgrounds are all linked to a game engine, video game engine, so the camera can move around this space. The background will move with the camera, and you just build some stuff in the foreground. Yeah, and you're in a different environment, and it's absolutely stunning what they can do with that technology now.
It's a game changer. It really is. Yeah,
it blew my mind.
Yeah, well, take a look at my job.
I bet.
50 years, and then all of a sudden it really changes.
So are they doing things now like creating digital sets and backgrounds rather than actually having to build things? Like, is that how it works on the show?
The show has to be dedicated to that form of production because it's very, very expensive. There's a lot of front loading on the art department, and producers are still twitchy about that. And visual effects takes it in the neck as well. I mean, it's a huge amount of front loading.
Yeah, I bet. That's fascinating, though.
Well, looks like Dorothy was the killer. It's been
Yeah.
fun.
Oh
We'll
yeah,
see you
right.
guys.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
quick question: was there any pressure, I guess, either from the studio or Dylan? Because essentially, I mean, Jeremy gets away with it, and Kate picks the wrong guy. So at the end, it's kind of a dark, unhappy.
It's a really
ending.
dark ending. No, they were happy with it. The only thing the studio insisted that I do, which I didn't want to do, is add a scream right as we cut to black and the music starts. They wanted a scream to say like she's going to get killed or something. I wanted to leave it a lot more ambiguous than that.
I
Like
think
where
they're
did
still together.
Yeah, I do too. I think you got.
I like to think that they're still together.
They're quarantining together.
Yeah.
Sequel.
Well, you mentioned, of course, the 80s influence. A lot of 80s slashers ended. There were several that I can think of that ended with the final shot being on the twist on the killer making a face at the camera like, haha, I got away with it.
Yeah. So it was a little bit of a throwback to that. I just I thought it'd be a fun, economical way to reveal the twist ending and leave people with that thought. It just seemed like the right place to get out of this story.
Don't you believe the way he plays this? I really believe he actually loves her.
Yeah, I think he totally loves her.
Yeah.
I think he means everything that he just said in that speech, and all the things he said to Kate. You're the only good thing in my life. He's telling the truth to her. Every single word that he speaks to Kate is the truth. He's not. The only thing he's lying about is like, I'm not the killer. Is your friend murdered all your friends? I just want to be with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great first marriage for both of them.
He's going to support her through the whole thing. He's going to he's going to keep the facade up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe for the sequel, you can do Son of Valentine, where they have a child.
They have Jeremy Jr.
It's time. Their child.
Jeremy Jr.
Jeremy Jr.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine at the wedding? Do you take this woman and he's got a big nosebleed? Yes. I took all her friends. Now I'll take her too.
Exactly. Well, that was fun. There's the movie. Watching it with you guys.
Oh my goodness,
that was awesome. That was awesome.
Yeah,
Jamie, it has to feel good to see the outpouring of love for Valentine.
Oh, wonderful! I signed up for Twitter in 2013 just so I could view some stuff. Constantly was asking me to create an account, so I just created an account, which I never used until earlier a couple of weeks ago. I think I posted something about Valentine's 20th anniversary, and it got reposted, and so many people got in touch, and I tried to respond to people on Twitter about it, and that's why I thought we should do this, because there's obviously a lot of people out there with questions about the film and who love the film, and I'm really grateful for that. And I thought it'd be really nice to do this event, watch it with people who love the movie, and say thanks, man. Thanks, guys and girls, for all the support for this film. We all worked really hard on it, and I'm really glad, and I'm really proud you enjoyed the film.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that it's kind of, its popularity's grown over the years, and I've noticed more and more people over the years, they talk about Valentine, and it's one of their Valentine, right there with My Bloody Valentine every year. They watch it on February 14th.
They're a tradition. Yeah,
it's great. It's really great that the film's got a life like that.
Yeah, I think it's,
and I'm grateful to Screen Factory for putting it out again. It hasn't been on disc for a long time, so I'm really grateful to Cliff and to Jeff for doing that.
Yeah, they and Peter did an excellent job on the Blu-ray.
Oh,
fantastic! Yeah.
Peter and I spent 2.5 weeks interviewing all the cast from Urban Legend, and then as many people from Valentine as we could get our hands on for that disc. How many people did you interview in about, was it 14 or 15 days? It was insane.
It was over 30. I remember we did Aaron and Gretchen, and then Steve, and then it was like 5 people in one day, just driving all over the place. Yeah,
we saw Robert Englund and Charles Bream, my production designer of Urban Legend, before he sadly passed away, and it was amazing to catch up with all those people again. It was 2 of the happiest weeks I've had in years, and that's where I met Peter, and we just. Because you called me to interview me for the book, and I said, "Well, the timing's perfect. I'm about to come over and meet all these guys." So it was meant to be, man.
I mean, the first time we met at what was the used record store, DV place here?
Oh, Amoeba. We went to Amoeba.
Yeah, we're sort of buying DVDs and Blu-rays.
Long
It was awesome.
Yeah, my brother from another mother.
I really appreciate you putting this together, Jamie, and everybody. It stirred a lot of great memories, and that, you know, it really did. It stirred up a lot of great memories.
You know how much I love you guys. You and Bronwyn are so beautiful to me. And to see my gorgeous Stephen Geaghan, my dear friend who I haven't seen in 20 years, I love you so much, brother. You had my back every day in that movie, and I'll always be grateful to you for that. You did incredible
Enjoyed it.
work.
Loved it.
It makes me really happy that you did.
One of the best.
Thanks, brother. And Aaron and Gretchen, my soulmates. I love you guys so much too. And it's just, you know, it's so lovely to have met you this way and to watch the film again with you. And I can't wait to get back there and drink margaritas with you as soon as possible.
Do it. We're here. We're here.
It's been amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, really fun.
Let's open the floor up to questions. If anybody out there has any questions for my guests, I'll post the link if you want to jump on and ask anybody a question face to face. I'll post that link in the chat right now. Go ahead and send us those questions. Let's see. Jill says, Jamie, you're truly humble and sweet. You're really a horror fan just like us. My question is, what was your experience of working on Valentine like as opposed to Urban Legend? Both films are amazing.
I love both experiences. The first one was my first movie, so the whole thing everything was brand new to me, and I kept pinching myself thinking, am I really getting to helm this film? I kept thinking they'll spend a few weeks with me developing it, then they'll kick me to the curb and they'll get a real director on board to do it with them. I really was blown away that they had the courage to hire me to do that film. So I felt a lot of I felt like I owed them so much. They gave me a career and gave me a chance to make films, and I just wanted to do the best job I could. And we spent 10 weeks shooting that film, and then it was out 13 weeks after we wrapped. It was literally premiering 13 weeks after it. So it was so fast. The post on Valentine was fast, but the post on Urban Legend was turbo accelerated to get it out. And that was including an orchestral score by Christopher Young and getting to a fine cut, getting all the titling done, everything, the color grading, all had to be done within that 13 weeks. So that was insane. Working on Valentine, I got to spend the whole time in Vancouver and stayed with Steve in Vancouver to finish the movie. And still we had some time pressures, but nothing like that. I was a lot more relaxed on Valentine because I'd gone through it once before. And I felt like I knew what I was doing a bit more. I had some experience by that point. But I loved both experience. Both films were so great. Two of the happiest experiences of my entire life. And I'd go back there in a flash to do it all over again. It was great. I loved it.
Pretty cool. One thing I'll say about Valentine too is, and I don't mean this to sound mean, a lot of movies that are shot in Canada, you can tell immediately that they're shot in Canada because it's like, this is New York, but there's like the big, whatever it's called,
right,
the big Canadian landmark in the background. This looks like it was shot in, Seattle.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it was set in San Francisco. We originally had some establishing shots planned for that, which the studio didn't let me do. Even though I came in not just on budget, we came in under budget. We gave studio money back that we hadn't spent on Valentine.
Do that? Why?
So that's what I said. It's like, let me go get the aerial shots, and then we'll take the money back. But, film's not finished. Doesn't matter.
Spencer says, anyone in the panel have any memories of the actor stuntman who played the killer? His movements were fantastic.
You're talking about Marshall Virtue, the son of our stunt coordinator. Marshall is such a great guy, and he took hits for the team literally. Like he copped a few blows, but having a stuntman play that character was the smartest decision because he was able to do the falls and everything else that was required. And yeah, we looked at Halloween 2 and stuff, and we worked on the movement together and what looked the best. And he did a great job. And I'm really glad you picked up on it, and thank you for that question. It was really nice.
The nicest guy.
Oh, gorgeous guy. If you're seeing this, I hope he is. Marshall, get in touch with me somehow. I'd love to catch up with you, brother.
Aren't the killers always the nicest people, though?
We only really had nice people. We didn't have any nasty people in this movie. Got really lucky. No egos, nothing like that. Just good people.
We've got somebody in the green room here. Mr. Anthony Massey is here with us. How are you doing, Anthony?
Yes.
Hey, man.
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
Good to see all of you. Hey,
Hey.
Jamie. Hey,
How
Peter.
you doing?
Hey.
I'm
Sounds
good.
like
I
the Brady
wanted.
Bunch here.
So who would I be in the Brady Bunch? Who's on? I'm Mr. Brady.
I can't remember.
Alice.
Yeah, right.
Alice.
Alice.
Yes.
I've always
You'll
wanted to
get
do
it.
that. I have to know, where is the original mask?
Peter's got it right there.
Right there.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Right
awesome.
there.
Yours is one of the screen used masks, right, Peter?
I believe so, Jamie, right?
Yeah, that's one from the movie. That's
Wow.
that's definitely the one that he wore in the bathroom sequence where he's attacking
I'm
Ruthie.
nervous.
We had a
holding
couple
it.
of hero masks, but that's definitely one of them.
Very
And
cool.
It's really heavy, as you know, Tony.
Yes.
Like it's not a thin. This thing is like, whoa, like
Yeah.
wearing that, and it kind of hurts.
I'm just
Yeah, it's not-
divulging
it's not
that I
comfortable.
knew that Peter owned the mask, and so he let me play with it like a year ago, and I put it on, and so I was like, "Where is the mask? He's not wearing the mask." I thought it was Brady's thing by wearing the mask.
Well, I don't. Jamie just let me have it, so it's a long story. But when Jamie comes back, when we see he's in Australia, he
Right.
gets to take it back. So
It's on extended loan to Peter.
Yes. I would.
Awesome.
But someone should recreate it and make like it would be a big item, right?
They should.
Yeah,
Jamie.
Yeah, I
Jamie,
wish-
have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought of licensing it or anything?
Oh, look, it's not my thing to license. I'm just a contractor for hire at Warner Brothers. I'd love to be able to license those things, but I'm just, I signed a piece of paper. That's it. Anything I create while I work for Warner Brothers, while I'm being paid for them, is their property and they own the whole thing. And any ideas I come up with belongs to them. Unfortunately, be nice to have had
Jimmy,
some
we made-
licensing. Right.
we made 50 of those masks of the plastic ones, and I believe
Yeah.
4 or 5 of the full head ones.
That's
And
right.
after the
That's
show,
right.
I think 3 of them were destroyed. Suki Parker got one that we kept as
Yeah.
best we could, and then it literally deteriorated after about 10 years. It just fell apart.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my one's held up pretty well. It's actually
Yeah, this is a
not
yeah.
bad.
It
it
hasn't
still looks good.
deteriorated. Yeah, I'm keeping it in cold storage when it's. Yeah, so-
Thanks, brother.
No, it is. It's in the dark and the cold way it should be. So keep it fresh.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for jumping on, Anthony. It was good seeing you.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
This was
Anthony.
great.
Good to see you, brother.
Bye.
Cheers, mate.
Take care, buddy. We have a question here, but I do believe this one was already answered, but it could be an interesting idea for a sequel. Well, actually, no, because Dorothy's dead. Was Dorothy working with Adam, or did he knock her out and put her in there?
No, he knocked her out, put her in there.
Was there any thought of doing a sequel?
No, I don't believe Warner's had any plans to do a sequel. I would have loved to have done a sequel. I had a great time telling that story, and I would have definitely been up for a sequel. But no, I don't believe so. Sadly.
Here's a question from my buddy.
Because I couldn't leave.
Here's a question from my buddy
What's
Nico. He
that?
says, Jamie, Gretchen, Aaron, love Valentine. It actually feels as much like a giallo as a horror film. Do any of you have a favorite giallo or a favorite
Oh,
giallo?
absolutely. Well, mine would be Deep Red. But I've got all of them basically behind me. I mean, that's all that stuff. I love all those movies.
I've just actually started dipping a toe into that genre. I just got the Shudder app, and
Yep.
so I don't know enough about it yet to be able to say I have a favorite.
I don't
Right.
know. Now I will do some research.
But that is high praise. I consider that to be high praise just from the look alone. I mean,
that's definitely there was a Mario Bava, Dario Argento influence on some of that imagery.
yeah.
That-
Like Suspiria, I
that-
really love.
Oh, Suspiria is one of my favorite movies. Yeah.
But that's really an amazing
Oh
insight
yeah.
into that.
And Shudder has a great selection of giallos. So, I mean, you can just get on there and watch giallos all day, and they've got some really good giallos on there.
Oh, great.
Let's see. Steven says, Jamie, thank you for making these slasher films. I was going to ask, were you ever attached to any other slashers?
Oh, I was attached to a bunch of stuff, but I don't really want to talk about things that I didn't do. You know, it's like we've all been there. I've been attached to all sorts of things. Yeah.
Let's see. Here's a question from my buddy Joey. He says, "Did you ever think of making a Valentine 2? How would you feel about a Cupid NECA figure?" Here's a
Right.
what about? Did you ever have any ideas for a Valentine 2 if that ever happened?
I would have just picked up the thread where it left off and see where the story took us. I would have definitely followed on from the first movie, but I would love an action figure of the cherub. Be great.
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy Melton, bring it on. Why not?
Let's see. There was a question here about the young Paige because she looks so much.
Perfect.
Here
Yeah.
it is. How did you find Chelsea Bergart, who played the young Paige?
We had, I think her name was Betty Chadwick, did all the Canadian casting for me, and she found those girls. Like they wrote in all these, they were looking for particular types, and we couldn't believe it when we found Chelsea. She was just perfect match for Denise. There's this great shot of the two of them together that I've got somewhere, and she, that was great. It was so sweet. And I remember the girl who played the young Dorothy. Asked me, "Do you think I'm going to grow up to look like Jessica Capshaw?" And I thought it was so beautiful. I told Jessica that story, and she was so touched. It's really lovely.
Sweet.
Mm.
You guys, I'm going to have to jump. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
But
Okay.
thank you for inviting me, and thank you for.
Thanks for being here, Steve.
No,
It was so good seeing you, man.
It's been a pleasure, Steve. Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you. Best of luck to
All right.
everybody. Gretchen, it's great to see you, and Aaron.
Same.
Thanks, everybody. It's Jamie. I'll see you sooner than you think.
All right. Yeah, we'll talk soon. Love you,
All
man.
right,
See
buddy.
you soon.
Take care.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Steve. Bye, buddy.
Good luck.
care, man.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Let's see. Brian would like to know, Jamie, any new movies in the works?
I've got a project in the works, but it's I can't talk about it right now, but it's going to be real. I'm really excited about it. It's not a slasher film.
Ooh, romantic comedy?
I'm not going to say anything about it. But it's not a romantic comedy. Come on, it's me. Of course, people are going to die. Don't worry. People are going to die.
Valentine the musical. I would go see that.
There you go. I would go see that too. Yeah. Let's see. Jamie, what's some of your favorite horror films?
Oh, all the ones that you guys love. I'm sure it's all the same stuff. I love all the early Carpenter films, the Romero films. I love David Cronenberg. I love Sam Raimi. I love all that stuff. I watch it all the time. It's not something that I remember. It's something that I continue to watch and draw inspiration from. So I love all those films. I particularly love early Carpenter stuff. Yeah.
All right, let's play some fantasy casting here. If there was ever a remake, who do you think would play the main characters?
Gretchen and Aaron, you take this one.
Oh boy, I'm okay. I'm sort of a person who sometimes I have a little issue sometimes with remakes because you gotta do better than the one before. But let's assume that's going to happen. And Jamie, of course, you would direct it. So I don't know. I'd have to think. The women are probably still would be in their early 20s. So I'm trying to think of anybody I know of in that age bracket.
Gosh, that's a difficult one.
Yeah, it's a really hard one.
Yeah.
I would just have to go with people that I want to
work with.
So
yeah,
that's easier.
Bring me Jamie Dornan for Jeremy Melton.
I want to
Zendaya. That's the age is maybe a little off between those two, but I love Zendaya.
We'll make that work. Who else? Jamie, help! Come on.
I mean, I'm like you. I want to see these people. I want them to come into the room. I want to meet them, and then I'll know. It's like straight away I'll know. It's like perfect, and you figure out all the different how they're going to bounce off each other. It's hard to just pull them out of the air. I don't know.
I think you need to cast David Boreanaz as the lecherous detective in this. Cut him a bald spot.
I would work with anyone from the movie again in a flash. In a flash, any of those guys. Love to work with them again. What else we got?
Let's see. What else have we got here?
We're going to have really good answers for that one tomorrow. We promise.
Yeah, we'll think about it. Let us think about it.
Yeah.
Let's see. We've got somebody in the green room here. This is the other Jason from Influence Films. How you doing, man?
Hey guys, how's everybody doing?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for having me on. I just
you're very welcome.
as far as like writing, and I know a lot of you guys are familiar with writing, either via books or screenwriting, and I love the movie. I was just curious, like as far as like plotting or stuff like that, how does that all work? And what advice would you give to somebody that's trying to write a film or write a book, things like that?
Go that way.
I mean, I can't speak for a book, but for us, I think like everybody's different. And there are people who really, you have to sort of just figure out what you are drawn to as far as the things that it takes, the building blocks to take a script. Erin and I like to start from character. And once you sort of know who the people in your story, and you want to really know what motivates them, where they came from, what their background is, where they're going. The other thing that, especially for something like a feature like Valentine, you know, the classic structure is 3 acts, right? You know, the beginning, middle, end, but we would break it down into 8 or 9 acts, because especially now, and we're talking about 20 years ago when we did Valentine, but like even now, like you can't be afraid of story, and there's always going to be more story. And like there's a lot of times there's a hesitation to sort of like, well, I'm going to save this thing's so cool, this little nugget, this thing's going to happen, this card I'm going to turn over is so great, it's got to be in Act 3. But if it naturally feels like it needs to be earlier, pull it up, because good story will always bring more good story. Like you can't be afraid, you won't run out of it, if that makes sense. If your foundation, your characters and everything else is the same, that story will move forward just like it does in life.
I think also it's helpful to make sure and it doesn't have to be something gigantic and super important, but you want to also figure out what your movie's about.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, like things I've seen recently that I've really loved, like Midsummer, that's also about toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
And grief, and you know, things like that, and Hereditary, same filmmakers, about family, and you know, The Witch, you know, it's about all this repression. And so I think the other key element there too is when you really figure out what you want to talk about, you know, what theme you want to work with, that will help guide you through, because when you're writing movies, it can get very scary in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like the beginning's easy and the ending's easy, but then you're looking at pages 20 to 75, and that gets a little bit scary. But if you have really a nice underpinning of what you're trying to say or what the film is really about, and hopefully that's something that you're super passionate about, that will really buoy a lot of how the story works and a lot of how the characters interact. So I think it's really important to figure that out before you start typing.
Oh, great answer.
Yeah.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you. That's awesome.
Good luck. Keep at it.
And keep
Awesome.
writing.
And keep writing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really, a writer writes. That's it. And I know that sounds hokey, but you know, and it's weird. Like Erin and I wrote together for 5 years before we got paid for it. And there are days when like that was the happiest time of our lives. Especially getting paid as writers, like it was ours back then. And then we love collaborating with other people, but when you start writing professionally, then like everybody gives notes and it could be the guy who picks you up in the morning and drive you to the set, and that's fine, because like we'll take good ideas from anywhere. But if you have a joy in writing, just keep doing it, for sure. I mean, just keep writing.
Any sage words for me, Peter?
Yeah, you know, writing, but also reading a lot. You know, I think to write well, you have to write a lot and you have to read a lot. So reading scripts and things that you like and seeing how they do it, not to copy or rip off, but, you know, can really help you understand. Because once you start seeing good writing, to me, it always inspires me. I read stuff and I try to always, you know, kind of push yourself to write one step above what you think you can do, you know, and really push yourself. Again, I'm more nonfiction, but what you said, Erin, like to me, theme is so important, you know. Like with the Friday the 13th book and this book was just sitting down and being like, you know, what is it about these movies? You know, what was it in the 90s that, you know, was there a formula? What was it about, you know, these movies that appealed to people? And were there any kind of interesting themes and connecting those dots? So for me, the kind of the bullet pointing and figuring out what it's actually about, that's where the passion comes from. Because I think if you're going to sit with an idea for 2 or 3 years and write it, you have to be your own engine to drive that. And if you don't have that passion, you're not going to see it through. So, because I think we all have a lot of, I don't know how you guys are, Aaron and Gretchen, but you have a lot of ideas, and then maybe a couple of days later, you're like, but it has to be an idea that you really want to see through for a long period of time. And you kind of have to catch that passion.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is just to have, and I still struggle with this all the time. This is a place where I have to get better is, get it on the page. Just get it on the page. It's so much easier to rewrite than to write from scratch. So there are so many times when you'll just be paralyzed because you want it to be perfect, and it's not going to be perfect the first time out of your, onto the page or the screen if you're writing on computer. Just get it out. Don't, that the courage to just like not keep second guessing every time you type, every word you type, because you can always go back around and tweak it. So many people get, I think they get discouraged, because it's not perfect right out of the gate. So you have to just try to just bash through that wall.
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt involved. And you got to keep moving.
And that's just not productive, because that's what rewriting's for.
So I just want to ask real quick too. So is something like Valentine, did you guys like write out like the ending is we have the ending in mind and we're gonna work towards this, or was it like you just kind of go
I feel like I don't think we ever really jump into something until we know where we're going.
No, we that's another thing. Some writers can sit down and maybe that story is inside them, and they can sit down and they don't need to structure it out. They can just sort of do that. I mean, I think that's kind of a myth. I think those writers are unicorns. We are and it's just becomes, we were foundationally raised in television where you have to you have a proof of concept every episode. You have to turn in an outline and before you even start, to write. And so we were raised with putting every beat down on a whiteboard, or every beat is on a note card. And so you can track visually how the story is mapping out. That will always change. Yeah. But we don't, like
no one lets you wing it.
We rarely will start something if we don't know what the story is.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well, that's the hardest part.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part, really. That's where you're, trying to figure this out, and that's a dead end. But the more you can have a solid structure, the more fun you'll have writing, because you'll know what you need to do. It's like a recipe for the day,
So there you go, Jason. Some wise words.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Take him to heart.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Take care, buddy. Let's see. Spencer says,
hey, Jamie, Steve here. I'm going to I have my Valentine waiting for me. I think it's
of course. Steve, thank you so much for your time. You're a beautiful man. I really appreciate you spending the time.
Thank you so much, Steve.
I'm glad we're back in touch, my friend. We'll have a proper catch up.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Bye.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.
Take care, buddy.
Bye.
Spencer asked, Don Davis's score was really unbelievable with a very memorable theme. Any memories working with him?
He was wonderful. I didn't actually get to spend that much time with Don in his studio because I was in Vancouver with Steve editing while Don was doing a lot of the music from LA. But he did come up and meet with me in Vancouver, and we hit it off. And I knew his work. I trusted him, and he delivered an amazing job. And he's a beautiful guy. So Peter and I interviewed him for the Blu-ray a little while ago. Actually, Peter interviewed him. I sat outside in the heat while he was interviewed, sweltering. He lives in Calabasas, so I just remember it was like being under a laser beam out there. But Don's gorgeous. He's a really good guy. No, it's all good.
Let's see.
He has an amazing studio too. Remember his house?
And he builds those guitars that he creates himself. Mind blowing.
Let's see here. Was there Was there really originally a scene involving Brian being killed, or was he still tied up in the nude the whole time while this chaos is happening downstairs?
I always thought it'd be hilarious at the end of the credits just to cut to him still tied up there, like screaming Paige.
Oh, if we could-
I wish I'd done that.
We really should have.
Oh, that's great.
That's the remake, Jamie. We need to
Just
figure out
Brian.
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 Could you imagine that the police show up there and he's got he's got the wax on? He's like, what's happening?
Right. He's like,
Oh, it'd be fun if he sort of came to the rescue for 5 minutes and helped someone escape before he gets taken out. We could have done something with Brian.
He could have peeled that wax off and thrown it in Jeremy's face or something.
Poor Brian.
Jamie, were you approached to direct Urban Legend 2? Dave wants to know.
Yes, I was involved in a different project at the time, though.
Let's see. Any other questions? There was a Saturday Night Live sketch about the movie soundtrack. Really?
I heard that, but I've never seen it. If someone could send me the link to that, I'd love to see that. If anyone knows where it is.
I know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, it's Mike. G'day, Mike. How you doing? I know Mike really well. Great guy. I love my friend.
Wow.
Yeah, I'd love to see that sketch if you know where it is, Mike.
I wonder if that's on YouTube.
I never did that. Yeah.
Yeah, jeez.
But you know about Zeitgeist question? I mean, the thing that's so interesting about that is until we got together with Jamie and Peter to do the interview for the Blu-ray, it really I was clueless to a lot of the analysis and the thought that Peter,
I was too.
Peter, you enlightened me to all of it. So I think it's very interesting that people are looking at it again and feel a connection to it. And
but 20 years later, people want to sit around, watch a bunch of guys talking about a 20-year-old movie. That makes me really happy. It's cool. It makes me really happy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been blowing me away because I grew up on the '80s stuff like Jamie and Halloween, all that, and then going to these conventions and stuff and meeting a young generation who their first horror movie was Valentine or Scream or last summer. So it's cool to, I kind of knew it in my head, but when you see it, there's this huge group of, I used to call them kids, but they're really passionate. They're as passionate about these movies as I was about Halloween and Friday the 13th.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful for those people. Wonderful.
Yes.
It's awesome to think the film's had an impact on people. That's positive like that.
There's also a call on here for you to create an Instagram account. Jamie.
Who? Me?
Yeah.
No, Twitter's as far as I'm going to go. I'm never going to be on Facebook. I'm never going to be on Instagram. I actually hate social media in general as a concept, especially Facebook. What actually it's about aggregating, advertising, targeting at people. I'm not into Facebook, but I'll do Twitter. Short and sweet.
Okay, but if you don't get on Instagram, you won't get to see tons of pictures of Aaron and my cats.
I might have to make up an account just for that.
You don't want to see my cat baked goods?
I love cats. I'm a huge cat lover. I love them.
Yeah, I'm amazed you're on Twitter, Jamie. I never thought I would see the day.
No, I never thought I'd do it either. I thought I'll post something for the 20th thing just to see if anyone cared. It was nice.
Why don't we close out on this? This isn't a question, but George says, thank you for Valentine and Urban Legend, two of my favorite horror movies of all time. Regarding Urban Legend, do you have any favorite memories with Silvio on the set?
I do, actually. He was a beautiful guy, and I'm devastated that he took his own life. Devastated. My happiest memory with Silvio was on the first day when we were both there. You could see that stuff on the Blu-ray too. There's shots of us together. Just so excited that we were doing it's his first movie. It was my first movie, and it was like I wanted him on set as much as possible. But like Gretchen and Aaron, he could only be there for some parts. But I dearly loved him, and we worked really closely on the script. And I knew how precious the script was to him as it was to me. And I'm devastated that he's gone. I was messed up for days after I found out the news. So I dearly miss him, and I wish I'd do anything to have him back. Yeah.
I'm glad we got him on the Blu-ray. It's great that he's.
I'm so glad he's there too, because it wouldn't exist without him. I would have no career. None of the Valentine. I'd be without Sylvia.
He gave a lot of people their chance and a lot of work, and we met him many times and never got to work with him, but he touched a lot of people.
He did. I love the guy, and I'll always be in debt to him. He was only 24 when we made that movie. He's 24 years old.
He was so young.
Just a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But he's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow, this was so much fun tonight, hanging out, talking
lovely,
about Valentine.
And I'm so grateful to all you guys for watching along with me and being here. And I love seeing any chance I get to see all of you guys. So it's just been awesome.
The same way, Jamie. We miss you.
I know.
Oh, Simona, I'll get back there as soon as we can.
Come back and see us. We need to come see you. And thank you for.
Oh, you come and see me. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Whoever wants to hear from the writers, never. So thank you for having us.
Yeah,
you're my favorite writers. I love you guys. You're all beautiful. Peter and Aaron and Gretchen and Justin for hosting us.
Yes. So nice to meet you, Justin.
Such a pleasure to meet both of you, and it's been just an absolute pleasure. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Nice seeing you, Peter.
Yeah, Peter, take care.
You too.
Right.
Looking forward to the book.
Yeah, thank you. I can't wait to get you.
In 20 more years, we'll be right back, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
40th anniversary.
We'll do it.
Let's do it. All right.
So
thank you again.
Mark your calendars, everybody.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. It's been so much fun. Have a great rest of your Valentine's Day. And thank you all so much. Have a great one.
Thanks, Justin.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers, brother. See you soon.
Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye.